Chapter 801. Black Zones? Well, they're one of two things. The first being an out-of-control beast, usually second or first class, that terrorizes the territory for too long. If that serpent wasn't taken care of soon, the Eden Forest could have been turned into a black zone. Interesting. So what is the second? Well, it's far more rare, but if the admin of a biome goes dark, so do their monitored areas. In both cases, black zones result in the total isolation of an entire region. Lords can enter, but nothing is permitted to leave until the threat is neutralized, or a new admin claims the zone. Basically, entering one is a death sentence. I raise an eyebrow as this comes through my link from Ren, and simultaneously, Ava accepts an offer from a lizard man for 74 more biome maps in the surrounding area. About a dozen of them overlap with the ones from the Ant Lord, but a majority are spread out more evenly, creating a wide circle around the safe zone where we stand now. 2 more of these black zones show on my map, making that 6 in total. While Ren's description of these zones is intriguing, the data I've just received on over 100 unique territories and monsters is equally as interesting. I have a perfect map pinpointing exactly where I can upgrade a large number of my skills, and there are a handful of monsters I've never encountered before, ones that may even have new skills to add to my arsenal. My grin grows as the room's excitement dies down. From what I can tell, most of the additional biome maps being offered are replicas of what this lizard man just traded. Plus, Zayden and Togi are eager to use the coupons to get their own upgrades, and Run is still silent, processing this whole situation with wide eyes. Ava speaks up and waves to the crowd. Alright, show's over. The rest aren't selling. That prompts many in the back to start leaving. The lizardman receptionist that confirmed our quest tries to get Ava's attention again to ask if we'd like any more quests, but she ignores him and sends me a telepathy link to ask what our next moves will be now that we have a clear map of our surroundings for a few thousand kilometers on every side. While it's just a tiny fraction of the entire wilderness, it's a good start. I send her instructions, take a step back, pulling my hand off Ren's shoulder, and instead make contact with both of the excited wolfman's furry arms. I think the next step is to get these 2 off to the Crown Cycle Lab. Don't you think? As I make contact, I send a burst of my own mana control into their avatars. Then Ava takes a step forward and releases a menacing burst of aura and advanced ether commands into the air like she's preparing for a fight. Yes, let's go. The entire room is caught off guard as a bright white glow surrounds us, and the air pressure shifts. All of the receptionists turn her way, and the cloud of chaos allows me to release my own cloud of mana and ether beneath hers to activate extremely advanced light magic and ether commands, beginning to manipulate the wolfman's avatars. I wouldn't dare to try this from long range, but under the control of my purple barrier and extensive knowledge of avatars and citadel commands, I'm certain I can do what I need to before anyone in the room catches on, and have it go completely under the radar in the Grand Citadel's surveillance systems. Less than a second later, Ava takes a step forward and begins to let her aura simmer down. At the same time, I release my contact from the wolfmen that follow. However, their avatars now have complex sensory feeds and physical trackers embedded into them. The 5 of us walk through the remainder of the crowd that separates, and right out the front door into the street. None of the aura, or the end of that scene that just played out, managed to ripple out into the street, so the center of town is moving along as usual. Some still whisper about the fact that 2 crown coupons were just sold, but the hype has already died down. We easily walk 100 meters or so around a curved walkway to find the entrance of a black building extremely similar to the Adventurer's Hub entrance, just with Crown Cycle Lab in large holographic text hovering above the white ether doorway. There are more messages that pop up, telling me my crowns are not filled, and I'm not eligible to enter. However, Zayden and Togi both walk right through with dazed expressions on their faces and skips in their steps. Ava just gives them a wave before turning down to Ren. So how long do these usually take? It's usually pretty random. Could be a few hours, but sometimes it's days. Depends on which admins are able to take requests. The white eyes of this elf lord look up to the 5 full crowns floating above their head. It may seem like a common thing, but filling your crowns is not an easy feat. The closer you are to filling all of them, the harder it gets. Many lords never even manage to complete a full cycle in their life. There's a good reason everyone went crazy over your coupons. I shrug and turn to the last higher tech building in the center of this small town that has 2 entry points, one labeled Trade Center and another Arena. I take it you're not going to use your coupon either? We might as well explore for the time being. Ren replies. What? I assumed we were teaming up for a while. I place a hand on their shoulder again and use telepathy to finish my sentence. I am kind of the reason your old party leader is dead, and I assume you're not the type to travel solo in order to conceal your real strength. The Lord's eyebrows raise. Well, I'd be happy to. I just wasn't sure if you wanted me to come along. I take my hand off and speak out loud while walking toward this last building. We're new here. A guide would be quite helpful. There's a lot of things about this place I still have to learn. The 3 of us walk around the center ring of the town, past a few dozen more sets of wandering eyes before walking through the white ether barrier door of this final building. Though when we enter, I get a barrage of messages, even greater than the spam of quest boards all over the Adventurer's Hub. This place looks a lot more spacious, and there are even more lords mingling on the sides of the room. Instead of having receptionists at the back, there seem to be trading specialists standing by at over 30 tables lining the room. They are mostly all horned rabbit lords, wearing very formal avatar armor and assisting trades for guests. The majority of them are lizard men, with the occasional orc lord in the crowd. Now that I can see the surrounding biomes in my mind, I can see that there are a few orc environments to the west, and their presence makes more sense. Ranging from 5th to 3rd class, there are no clear class differences like in the Adventurer's Hub, where mostly only strong lords stayed. Though I do notice there isn't a single wolfman in this center room. I do spot some near the back, behind a semi-translucent ether command barrier, using 2 of the facilities available here at the Trade Center. One of the facilities labeled Arena stacks up as high as the tall ceiling, revealing 3 full floors of reinforced dueling rooms. Though the lords inside don't appear to be trying to kill each other, this just looks like a safe space for training or sparring. Then, my eyes turn to a second small corner at the other side of the room's back wall, labeled Premium Dining Lounge. So many notifications rush into my vision, offering to sell Dead Soul weapon shells, trade packets of ether for mana, provide information on wild beast attack patterns, biome maps, and about 75% of the spam messages I get are about buying and selling avatar achievement buffs. Though I push all of the messages aside and only really look at the biome maps for sale. Many of the maps extremely close to the safe zone sell for 1 to 5 ether each, depending on how well scanned they are. Though, the further out the zones are, the more they go for, some individual plots a few dozen biomes away selling for over 100 ether each. It's no surprise that I already have perfect copies of all of them, as it seems that Lizardman who traded for Ava's coupon bought up most of the rare biomes to bulk up his trading power. It worked well, and he even had a good amount that aren't on the market here. I find that almost none of the biomes sold by the Antlord are available here. They all seem to be unique copies from that lord's personal journey. As we walk further in, a horned rabbit trading specialist smiles as his ears flop to the sides of his head while looking up at Ava. Welcome to the Trade Center. I haven't seen your party here yet, you all must not be locals. Welcome to our safe zone. Is there anything in particular you're looking for? Chapter 802. Oh, we don't need much. Just sightseeing before we head back out into the wilderness. Ava replies, eyeing the back of the room labeled Premium Dining Lounge. The sales specialist picks up on her eye movements and turns to the sectioned-off area. In that case, if you're not looking to buy or sell any specific gear, may I suggest you relax in our dining lounge? For those who miss the taste and experience of eating food, we have many options for all races and documented cultures. Many come with temporary buffs to aid you when you leave the safe zone. Sure, we'll check it out. Ava shrugs and walks forward. Ren follows behind her, but I'm far more interested in the other side of the back wall. I'll catch up with you. Order me whatever looks good. Then, I diverge paths with them as they follow the specialist toward the lounge, and I walk over to the training rooms labeled Arena in my vision. Tons of time slots are available, as well as lords looking to spar or work on very specific fighting styles, or lords with unique techniques. There are also scheduled duels throughout the day to settle disputes, and a description of the rules tells me that it works very similarly to the rooms in Ellipsia. Two sides can set wagers and custom rules for each match. When I stop walking forward and stand in front of the translucent ether shielding of the bottom floor, I see two third-class wolfmen sparring. One is on all fours, using its claws and a body-hardening technique to turn its hands into weapons, while the other fights with a long soul sword and nothing else. A lizard man is watching with sharp yellow eyes next to me, looking my way but ignoring me when he realizes I'm just a fifth-class human, here to observe the match and not fight myself. Out of the corner of my eye, I watch Ava and Ren disappear into the lounge area, and another loud clash from the match in front of us brings my attention back to the fight. Both are evenly matched, but the wolf on all fours is relying too heavily on its animalistic instincts and is becoming angrier with every missed attack. The sword wielder is calm, clearly much older and more experienced in battle, and waits for the right moments to land hits on the other fighter's arms and legs. A few more exchanges pass before the weaponless wolfman breaks out of its usual patterns and tries going in for the kill impatiently. The swordsman's eyes stay sharp, and he reacts to this moment just like all their past exchanges, striking with the most efficient shot, straight for the chest. However, upon impact, the beastly wolfman does not get skewered. Instead, a bright ether array surrounds his whole body, like the protection commands I felt activate while walking through the streets outside. The sword strike that would have ended the match is blocked, but the entire room changes color to a red glow, followed by pop-up windows awarding the swordsman points toward a leaderboard they've been keeping track of even before I arrived. Both fighters relax for a moment and start talking to each other like old friends while a timer counts down and they rest up for a new match to start in a few minutes. After successfully making small changes to Zayden and Togi's avatars without being caught, my confidence in doing something similar again has risen, and my curiosity about some of the system messages I see is too great not to at least give it a try. I place a hand against the glass-like barrier and inject small amounts of invisible ether commands into the arena construct. After testing this multiple times by touching Ren on the shoulder to initiate telepathy, and experiencing no adverse reaction in the Adventurer's hub, I'm certain there is no automatic protocol advanced enough to track my movements. A surge of information rushes into my consciousness as the blueprints of this entire building materialize in my mind. Before my heart can even beat again, the imagery of two more buildings in the center of the town appears in my mind, then countless houses all the way out to the border of the safe zone. I can see thin strands of white ether connecting every avatar here into an intricate system, and my vision only zooms out more the longer I dive in. I don't see the wilderness itself, but more connected safe zones come into view. At first, it's half a dozen. Then it quickly turns into 100. And before I know it, I feel the strands of my ether touching thousands of identical safe zones just like this in a ring around the center of the citadel. Their exact positions are unknown to me, but I do feel as though if I were less cautious about containing my aura, I could easily take control of every safe zone with the flick of a finger. As these thoughts race through my mind, however, my subconscious follows more random strands and finds that some connections lead upward, to the edge of this dome-shaped construct. My only guess is that they lead to the so-called admins, but I decide to cut off my search for them, as I feel like invading the minds of first-class demonic servants is a quick way to be discovered if I'm not completely in control of my ether commands. If I was closer to the targets, I'd try it, but being hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from a few admins, I don't want to test my luck yet. Additionally, with 3 self-induced seals holding back a massive amount of my power, I decide I'm content with my findings and draw my tendrils of energy back to now only focus on the one arena room in front of me. The match is about to begin again, but I hear a low and rough voice from my right, the lizard man watching as well. It's dangerous to touch the barrier while the fights are active, right? Thanks. I nod and take my hand away, satisfied with the data I've collected, and even more confident about using ether commands undercover. Then, my eyes shift up to the 3 completely empty crowns above this lord's head. Then shift down to the custom soul daggers strapped to his sides, and then look back up at the experienced look in his eyes to ask a question. Have you ever turned in a crown cycle? I'm quite new to this zone, still trying to figure out how things work. He nods, showing a few white teeth. Of course, 2 times, actually. This last one brought me over the edge to receive my high-grade avatar. Oh, congrats. What was it like? Inside the lab and turning in your crowns? I've heard it can take a while sometimes. I wouldn't normally be interested in conversation with some random lord, but the only structure that I couldn't see into, the one that stayed like this consistently for every single safe zone, was the Crown Cycle Lab. There is an extremely dense and complex layer of ether and divine threads on the bottom floor of every lab I gently scanned. It almost felt similar to the time I tried to look through the power plant at the center of Ellipsia. Even the trackers I placed on the 2 wolfmen that entered this building have stopped moving and are just standing side by side in the center of the lab. The Lord beside me responds. Inside the lab, well, it was. My confusion only grows when I see the lizardman's sharp eyes turn dull and lifeless for a moment, giving off a strangely cold presence. What were we talking about again? He spits out, shaking his head as the alertness in his eyes returns. I take another step back from the translucent wall and look down at my hand as the clash of a sword against hardened claws echoes inside the chamber. I decide to stop prying now. Oh, it was nothing. I was just thanking you for telling me to keep my distance from the barrier. In the same moment, another exchange between the 2 fighters loosens the sword from the calm wolfman's grip, and it hits the barrier right where I was before. The wolfman on all 4s wins the match. The lizardman grunts and turns back toward the fight, lacking a chunk of information from the conversation we just had. I turn and walk right by him, on my way over to meet back up with Ava and Ren in the lounge, now juggling even more odd theories in my mind. A specialist greets me at the door and recognizes me immediately as the 3rd member of the party that came in earlier. I nod along and scope out the room, which is filled with large amounts of ambient mana to make the guests feel more energetic. I see mostly horned rabbit lords sitting in the elegant red booths and black tables. Though my mind is wandering somewhere else, as the trackers on Zayden and Togi's avatars finally begin to move again, and not in the direction I was expecting. The 2 of them slowly move downward, through the thick barrier my scans couldn't penetrate by simple means earlier. Chapter 803. The dining construct around me is only made of pure mana, green divine threads, and ether commands. But every flat surface projects lifelike illusions to create a luxury experience. The lighting is dim, making the red booths stand out, especially as waiters carry bright white trays full of dishes upon Lord's ordering. While this is an impressive display, my mind focuses much more on the trackers I placed on the wolfmen, which continue to move downward. It's not like they're just being moved into an underground lab right below the safe zone. I can feel them hundreds of meters below the surface now, and even speeding up, descending much lower. Though all I can do is wait to retrieve the complex data they store from the visual and sensory commands. They cannot be transferred from long range like this, as they have not sworn their loyalty to me to connect to my Rising Emperor's domain. So, I'll have to wait until we can make physical contact again to see the full picture. Instead of thinking further, I push it to the back of my mind and get seated next to Ren, across the table from Ava, and a second server comes to meet us at the table just as I sit down to place a glowing white tray before me. As requested, the documented delicacies of the human race. The imagery of a steak dinner with mashed potatoes and soups and a collection of delicious-looking sides made of bread and cheese, along with various other vibrant side dishes. It really does look, smell, and even give off the heat signatures of real food. My eyes track to look in front of Ava's place setting, and there are large slices of meat on the bone, with no sides at all, just variations of the types of meat. Ren beside me, on the other hand, only has a single pink fruit on a small plate that's been cut into half a dozen even slices. While I would be quite excited to have a real steak right about now, I can clearly feel that these 2 are just manifestations of ether, mana, and divine threads, though I play along and thank the waiters with a smile. Thank you, this is perfect. The one that brought our food overturns away after a slight bow, but the specialist that brought me to my seat still waits a few seconds longer. Please do feel free to ask for anything you desire. Your generous tip to all the staff must be reciprocated. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts before you head off on your journey. Ava shrugs, sending me a telepathy message. I was just being polite and gave a little extra. It seems people aren't as giving out here. I turned to the horned rabbit. There is one thing, actually. It's a personal question, but your avatar looks quite high quality. Have you ever turned in a crown cycle before? The specialist nods, and his ears bounce slightly while he responds. Well, of course, it is a requirement to become a staff in any of the safe zones, after all. Really? What was your experience like? We have a few party members turning in their first cycle now. I'm just wondering what the process is like. Before I can even finish my words, the same dull expression falls over the happy specialist that looked excited and proud moments ago. A chilling aura leaks out for a few seconds, and I feel Ren shiver with fear beside me. However, it soon subsides and the chipper expression returns. What was it we were discussing? I must have lost my train of thought. I smile outwardly. Oh, it was nothing. I just said I'd call you over if I needed another round once I finished my meal. Thanks again for bringing me to my party. Excellent. The specialist turns around with a skip in their step, oblivious to the awkward mood shift. Ren places a foot on mine below the table, clearly wanting to open up a telepathic link, so I do so and add Ava to it as well. I know you're strong, but careful what questions you ask, especially about the crowns. Why's that? I respond, still unsure how or why this keeps happening. It's not like there is a curse or buff on their avatars or main status. I'd be able to pick that up from just a glance. Something strange is going on. Ren replies, I don't remember why. I just know that you should never turn in your crowns. Everyone that does always comes back very different and lacking memories. This triggers the thought of gaps in many memories that I've absorbed from the demonic Cyclops Guardian below Ellipsia and Andros Vermilion, both of them relating to times they visited the Grand Citadel. I don't respond for a moment to think this over and realize another very strange fact. None of the beasts I killed on my way here in the swamp or Eden Forest granted me any of their past memories. Only mana and divine threads were absorbed. None of their ether ever entered my true pool, but I initially assumed that was just a side effect of wearing a fake avatar outside my body, as accepting the kill commands reroutes the energy. Though now that I sit here and let things sink in, I get an ominous feeling about this whole wilderness construct as a whole. Understood. It's time to be more careful. No more questions about the crowns. I reply to Ren. Then, I look down at the steak in front of me, pick up a fork and knife and pretend to enjoy. I can feel very simple ether commands triggering inside the fake avatar around me, and if my mind and true being were connected to it, I probably would be experiencing hallucinations to make this meal taste real. All I'm truly experiencing now is a small burst of energy as I take in a few 100,000 MP and tiny amounts of divine threads. Ava reports a similar phenomenon occurring, as her illegal freedom avatar is not connected to the wilderness outer shell of linked ether commands. Ren's foot is still on mine, and I try to do a scan to see if the same sensations are happening, but I come back with non-conclusive results. The white-haired elf lord's body feels like it's made of pure divine threads and light magic. Without using my sealed advanced ether commands, they just feels like I'm touching a human-sized artifact like my purple ring. It sparks a memory of reading some information on soul weapons in ASIC's info packet, about artifacts called sentinels, where soul weapons gain their own consciousnesses and operate without a wielder. However, I've never seen one and have no real data to compare. The Lord sitting beside me has feelings and operates like a living being, but I can't help but think about the fact that elves had a seat as the overseer even before wyverns. Logically, they should all be extinct by now. To add to my rising paranoia, the Wolfman's trackers are still moving downward and are almost a full 100 kilometers below the surface. This confirms my theory that this is certainly not just a dome. So many things about this whole hidden construct within the Grand Citadel aren't adding up. However, I only have a limited amount of days remaining to take advantage of the skill farm at my fingertips here. It's best to use what's available to me, and appease my full curiosity later once I don't have to hold back my power anymore. So, I voice these thoughts while standing up at the booth now covered with empty dishes. I think we've wasted enough time in this safe zone. We can meet back up with the others once they finish their avatar upgrades. Let's head out and explore the new biome maps. Chapter 804. We leave the dining lounge and walk through the streets on the other side of town from where we entered. I've counted exactly 362 lords in total in this safe zone, which really isn't much. There are far more wild, unintelligent beasts in the wilderness. We still get a few glances as we walk past the housing areas. Some lords recognize us from the Adventurer's Hub, while others are just enamored by Ava's unique appearance. The three of us walk through the outer barrier of the safe zone and out into the chilling snow environment of the Horned Rabbits. Immediately, I feel the protective avatar commands I witnessed in the dueling rooms dissipate, as any attacks that hit us from other lords would not be blocked. I pull up the mental map of nearly 150 biomes that we've obtained and start pinpointing ones that have data on the monsters present that could benefit us. As we trek straight through the rolling hills of snow, occasional trees, and small 5th-class horned rabbit monsters that barely make it up to my knees in height, I outline the map of where I'd like to go with my 2 travel partners. Ava is excited to play around with her new avatar. Even if she has to hold back a lot to fit in, stretching her legs and killing some monsters is far more exciting than standing in a dark room in Ellipsia while assimilating with her avatar for days. Ren, on the other hand, stays quiet and expressionless as we make our way through the entire snow biome at a very steady pace. Over 6 hours pass as we venture further into the wilderness, passing through rocky canyons, deserts, forests, strange fields full of crimson grass, entire mountains made of clear crystals, a black obsidian flatland with bright blue trees, and many more strange environments with primarily 4th and 5th-class beasts. Very rarely, a 3rd-class monster appears, but they are nowhere near as stealthy or powerful as that serpent we fought in the Eden Forest. It makes me think about how rare it probably was and makes the reaction of the other intelligent lords wanting to buy our coupons make much more sense. Notifications ding in my inner ear as we make our way through, and I collect 1,033.7289 low-quality ether in total from a few dozen kills per biome that add up. I've come to make an educated guess now that each crown killed in a 5th-class monster grants 0.2 low-quality ether upon their death. This makes the maximum they can drop 1.0 low-quality ether, but the majority have less than 2 crowns full on average. The 4th-class lords store 2.5 low-quality ether per crown, making their max payout 10.0 low-quality ether. There have only been a few 3rd-class lords and monsters that I've killed, but comparing these to the Wolfman boss, I've come to the conclusion that there is 33.3333 low-quality ether in a 3rd-class crown, making the full set 100.0 low-quality ether. I only have one clear data point on a 2nd-class beast, and its crowns were completely full, granting almost 1,000 low-quality ether in a single shot. In the grand scheme of things, this much ether is not very much. Everyone in this wilderness is extremely weak. It's no wonder demons have dominated this zone of the upper realm. I upgrade enemy detection, bloodlust, dual wielding, and screech to divine grade after we've trekked through almost half of the biomes I wanted to get to. However, as we get further away from the safe zone we left, the average strength of monsters does increase slightly. Fewer 5th-class beasts appear, and the sightings of 3rd-class monsters increase a bit. We stop into every safe zone along the way and check the Adventurer's Hub for more interesting quests, but don't find a new one that stands out until the 9th visit. It's another 2nd-class bounty. Looks like it's been out for nearly 3 months too, just like that serpent. Ava says to me while pointing at the wall of an identical Adventurer's Hub. There are fox-like lords and a green ogre race that co-occupy this safe zone, but all of the amenities are exactly the same. The housing outside is in a perfect line, made of native materials, and the 3 center buildings are exact replicas, just like every single safe zone. When I did a scan through the weak point in the dueling rooms, I got a simple picture in my head of the outer boundaries of all these safe zones, with their avatar commands and a black and white visual in my mind. Though seeing it in person for the last few hours has been quite the sight. Perfect, we'll take it. I reply as Ava taps the quest pop-up, and we head out into the Green Ogre's mountain biome. It takes less than 15 minutes to find the deep crater in the ground in the center of a heavy forest area, the only portion of this biome that shows off the vibrant orange dirt. The exact location of the quest was detailed in the description, so it's no surprise to me that almost a full dozen 3rd-class intelligent Green Ogre lords all stand around the crater in a circle, taking turns sending their most powerful attacks down into its center. This is impossible. I've been at it for 11 days straight. This has to be some kind of joke. An admin may have to interfere soon. I never really thought about our home territory turning into a black zone. We can just relax at the safe zone until it's dealt with. It's not like this is a dangerous threat. Their casual conversation hit my ears as we come to the sides of the crater, and I see a massive tortoise at the center of the pit. It has 2 full crowns above its head. Its entire body is coated in a shimmering layer of pure mana and divine energy, and a team of 3 ogres jump down at it, throwing massive attacks burning hot with ether straight at its shell. They bounce off like it's a ball of rubber, but no one watching is impressed or surprised by the results. They just move along in line and let the next party try their luck. We step in line and observe the attacks that continue to rain down on it, coming to the consensus that this isn't a normal body hardening or crystal creation skill. I think it's something unique, as this barrier looks malleable, like liquid. I need the final strike. I want this kill. I mentally send to Ava as we get to the front of the line, and a few ogres start to murmur about us, doubting that inferior races could possibly do what they couldn't. Rin steps back and whispers, "You two can handle this. I'll watch." As we both jump down into the pit, Ava falls faster in front of me and charges up a basic ether command to make her fist glow white-hot. With her other hand, she pulls out one of the Wolfman's basic soul swords that we never handed in or tried to sell at the safe zones and tosses it back to me as we fall. A loud twang fills the air as Ava uses a tiny portion of her strength, similar to the levels she showed during the battle with the serpent, to punch the tortoise's pink glowing shell. To both of our surprise, it doesn't budge, just like the attacks we've been witnessing. I send a mental message to her to up the ante, even using the power of a first-class lord. She charges up her other fist and punches it again, with enough force to rival even one of the warlords from Ellipsia in their past forms before I arrived in the upper realm. The amount of ether compressed into this hit is certainly at the level of a premium-grade avatar, and yet the only thing that happens is a small fluctuation in the strange pink barrier, though it does let out a cracking sound. This is because I've fallen into range, and I'm close enough to use my light magic to manipulate the visuals of the surroundings. Ava plunges small amounts of her true ether, disguised by my pre-built commands, into this second attack, and the sound of cracking can be heard as the shell breaks. Ava jumps out of the way once her job is done, and I plunge a basic-grade soul weapon into the opening created to shatter its core and claim the kill. Use absorption. Skill. Last defense, divine grade. Yes. No. Kill confirmed. Reward, 988.3001, low-quality ether. Add to crown pool. Yes. No. Information about this new skill and the divine threads that transfer the details of its true core ability flow into my mind as I press yes on everything. This technique creates a barrier around the outer layer of the caster's body but uses up their entire MP stores. And the true core integration sacrifices a portion of the caster's divine threads to strengthen the barrier further. This tortoise was unable to move at all until the skill was deactivated. While it is an interesting last resort technique, it isn't very practical to use with my battle style. I'm curious how this monster even got into this situation in the first place. But as the ether is siphoned into my fake shell of an avatar, its memories are lost with it. There is a bit of a shockwave that knocks down about half of the lords standing too close to the edge, as Ava's use of her true ether was not expected or planned for. Though luckily no one is injured. However, many do look mad, confused, and are eyeing the pieces of the tortoise shell that aren't disintegrating along with its flesh, sizing us up to see if they can steal this kill from us. Ava sees this too and yells out, taking control of the situation before it goes in another direction. You all want a piece, right? Biome maps. Hand over at least 10 maps of the surrounding area, full monster documentation, and environment scouting. If you have more than that, speak up, you'll get bigger pieces. Eyebrows raise at this odd request, but ogres are a very intelligent race and don't question the strangeness of the situation much. Instead, they take advantage of it for personal gains. I cross my arms and nod, walking up the side of the crater to stand by Run while watching the line of the strongest ogres in the region hand over their information on surrounding biomes in exchange for pieces of the second-class monster's shell, which looks to be turning black like a dead soul weapon. In a matter of minutes, the crater is empty, The ogres are walking away satisfied, and over 200 new biomes have been added to our mental maps. I guess someone else will turn in that quest reward. We got everything and more out of this, I say while turning in the opposite direction of the safe zone and continuing the trek onward. Large portions of the map area that was just a straight line from the Antlord's contribution earlier have been filled in. Not only are there more territories that look like they're only filled with 4th and 3rd class beasts, but the number of black zones present themselves in my mind the closer we venture toward the inner city has doubled. There are about 20 biomes between us and the nearest one, but in a few more hours of farming, I'll get to see one up close and personal for myself. Chapter 805. Notifications continue to ring in my mind as more hours pass. I absorb over 1,000 more low-quality ether through a few dozen more biomes, and Hush, Iron Fist, Bloodweaver, and Dagger Mastery are all upgraded to Divine Grade. I managed to absorb Bloodweaver from another premium 2nd class quest, taken from a vampiric beast race. They all looked like overgrown wolves, but their blood-red eyes felt like they had merciless, intelligent minds behind them. Even after killing over a dozen 3rd class beasts without their real memories, it's hard to tell if they were truly intelligent life or not. Ava does most of the heavy hitting, after all, I just get the lucky shots. We hand in the bounty at another safe zone and sell our 2 crown coupons for another 168 biome maps, expanding our horizons even further, making it past the furthest point that the Antlord's odd collection of biomes showed us. Rin keeps the coupon, and I don't ask why nor pressure them to sell. My mind is more focused on what's less than 3 biomes away, a black hole of darkness on the minimap, not labeled with any pop-ups. There is one safe zone between us and this black zone, and when we travel through it on our way out, there are fewer than 40 lords in total. The wilderness around these parts is quite barren. I see massive 5-meter-long claw marks in the dirt all over the place for tens of kilometers, carving large holes into rock walls and toppling many trees at a time. I heard it was a 1st class. It's been over a full month, and that admin still hasn't responded. The poison has leaked out from the black zone barrier. If they don't send someone in soon, all of the surrounding zones are going to be blacked out. The whispers and rumors from the few brave orc lords who have stuck around near the safe zone play back in my mind as we get closer to the zone in question. In my minimap, all I see is black ahead, but with my eyes, all I see is a reflective barrier off in the distance. It's like I'm staring at a massive mirror, one that would be invisible to the eyes if not for my advanced perception, which picks up on the intricate movements of ether and mana in the air. There's even a light magic array that pairs with the ether commands crafted into this complex machine before me. As we walk through the ends of a patch of desert sand, leaving a canyon-filled biome where a strange armadillo-like race with body-hardening skills roamed about, the dirt beneath our feet grows far more damp. It even turns maroon in color, and the sour smell of poison fills the air. Those orcs were right, I whisper under my breath while walking closer, not slowing down a bit. Ava borrows my divine grade self-regeneration skill, but she also doesn't slow her pace while walking beside me. This air is quite infected, and it's strong. Rin stops moving forward, eyes wide, and speaks up for the first time in hours. You're not actually going into a black zone, are you? You remember what I said before? Only admins can handle them. Walking in is a death sentence, especially this one. The white-haired lord takes a step back as a cloud of light purple mist rises from the ground below us, and the rotting smell of poison spreads. I only stop walking forward once I'm less than 10 meters in front of the shimmering wall. Even now, the illusion is strong. As I look forward, it appears as though the desert canyons we just left go on forever. However, the different colored dirt beneath my feet and the barrage of warning notifications that have popped up in my mind the moment we all stepped within about 100 meters of this wall tell me I'm certainly on the right path. I turn back, wanting to confirm my suspicions. This is a wild beast, right? The poison land isn't normal when admins go dark. I assume. Rin nods, and that's all I need to know before turning back and walking forward to place a hand on the barrier. Feels just like air, as though we could walk right through. However, I send a message to Ava, instructing her to cause a large disturbance as cover, just in case there are additional ether commands I can't perceive right now. Then all we need to do is kill that beast, and the black zone will disappear. Right? She yells out, releasing a dangerous aura of premium-grade ether commands. Enough mana control to rival all of the second-class beasts we've already fought on our journey here. Through this release of aura, I become more confident in sending my tendrils of perception into the strange construct, revealing its complete outer layering to me instantly. Instead of an invisible mirror, in my mind it looks like a dome of ether commands, just like the safe zones we've been checking into, but inverted. Instead of keeping wild beasts out, it's keeping whatever dares to enter inside. No exceptions, though. Even though these ether commands are locked down tight, dense enough to keep second-class monsters on the loose confined, I do manage to sense a flaw in the defenses. Well, not a flaw, more like a key. All of the densest strands of ether come off the inner wall of the dome and lead to a single point within the small area that spans about 8 kilometers wide. From here, I can't see exactly what it is, but my educated guess states it's a track target that is connected to the zone. Ren said earlier that these zones don't disappear until the threat locked inside is dealt with, or an admin interferes. I can tell that if those strands are severed, so will this barrier. Upon realizing this, Ava's aura is still at its peak, so I have another moment to dig deeper and use the same style of searching for information as I did inside the arena of a safe zone. Instantly, more black zones pop up in my mind. Of course, not in perfect clarity, but I can guess their relative positions to each other based on the few I have saved in my biome minimap. It starts off as just a dozen, but then hundreds show in my mind and soon thousands. The closer to the inner city walls I look, the more clumped together the zones are, and the strength of their ether commands increases as well, most likely holding back stronger threats. My mind sinks deeper into the construct, and I start to feel the ether commands that lead upward to the admins. I pull my hand away from the barrier just before I mess in places I'm sure to get caught. Ava lets out a laugh as her aura settles down, and I lift my hand from the barrier. Yes, let's kill this beast. It'll be a trial run. I want to see if my theory is correct. With grins on our faces, we walk right through the one-way barrier, locking ourselves out of the rest of the wilderness, into a black zone. When I turn back around, the mirrored barrier is, in fact, jet black. Instead of reflecting anything, all I see is a void. When I look out into the zone we've entered, the damp soil gets mushier, darker, and the sour poison in the air intensifies. Both Ava and I are healing far too fast to even notice the effects on our bodies. However, I do reflexively shiver with disgust when I hear a familiar clicking and scraping noise that I thought I'd never hear again. The rolling hills of loose maroon-colored dirt and slow-moving poison-filled clouds reveal the silhouettes of disgusting, mutated rat monsters at the edge of my vision. I see a mixture of 5th, 4th, 3rd, and even a few second-class rat lords, all gnawing on bones, eating each other's flesh, and mindlessly roaming around this desolate zone. Their chomping and clawing sounds are horrific, yet a portion of them stop what they're doing when they sense the presence of new lords in their biome. This peace only lasts for a few seconds before it's followed by screeches, more clawing, and the shaking ground as a wave of rat lords begins tearing up the terrain to mindlessly come our way. Ava's fists start to glow white while I charge up a fireball in my right hand. The rumbling noise prompts even more rats farther away to turn their heads and follow the mindless crowds. It looks like the entire biome has turned into a sea with hundreds, maybe even over 1,000, rats flowing our way like a tidal wave. I speak with an irritated tone. I'd normally go straight for the boss, but this black zone is in need of a total extermination. We're killing every last one of them. Chapter 806. As the hordes of rats run forward, we do too. I aim for the weaker rats at 5th and 4th class, while Ava attacks the 3rd and 2nd class beasts. Some of them are even triple ranked up, growing in size to 7 or 8 meters long. Their teeth, claws, and tails are as sharp as blades, acting as sole weapons, dense with ether commands inside their basic grade avatars. I activate my fire summoning skill over and over on its lowest setting, even using the simulated commands of my avatar shell to limit its power. I infuse small amounts of ether into my attacks with the basic imbue avatar command, using up 0.005 to 0.01 low-quality ether per fireball to follow out. The rolling hills covered in rats light up with fire and white ether as the two of us kill all of the rat lords coming our way. I ball up the flames and stack the basic grade ether commands to create powerful attacks that a 5th class lord shouldn't be able to throw, but that are physically possible for someone with enough mana control and divine threads to pull off. This allows me to fry rats left and right, out in the open, without a care for who is watching. Out of the corner of my eye, I watch Ava punching through the skulls of 2nd and 3rd class rat lords, finding their weak points precisely, using the minimum necessary power to secure the kills. The dissolving avatars lay in piles behind us, scattered across the hills. Yet, as I look further into the distance, there are only more rats coming my way. Though, as more of the flaming and screeching rats die behind me, a strange string of notifications rings in my inner ear. Threshold met. 100 lords killed. New title. Rat Killer. Avatar buff. Additional 10% damage on rat lords. I recognize the style from a list of avatar achievements I keep seeing when entering the safe zones. The moment it activates, I feel my avatar shell strengthen with an additional avatar command, emerging from the small sequence of commands the demonic servant at the edge of the Grand Citadel edited. When I send my next fireball in an approaching rat's direction, I feel it activate, and I get up close to watch the ether imbued in my attack break through the rat avatar's defense commands slightly faster. I think about the scalability of this for a normal lord. If they hunt in a certain region all their life, they could get quite strong. However, any piece of enchanted gear or custom soul weapons could do far more for them. That would require filling their crowns and submitting to this strange system. But considering all items except for soul weapons usually are destroyed by the pressure when moving up to the upper realm, any extra buffs are helpful to survive. Interesting, is all I whisper while traveling deeper, closer to where, when I touched the outer layer of this black zone, I saw all of the exit commands leading to a single spot. I send a link of telepathy to Ava, pinpointing the exact location we need to go, and begin using multiple fireballs per rat. Where we're going, I have to fight off 3rd class rats too, just because of the sheer volume. The poison mist gets much denser, and it's clear that the weaker lords are staying away, as they cannot withstand it. Threshold met. 1,000 lords killed. New title. Rat Exterminator. Avatar buff. Additional 20% damage on rat lords. Threshold met. 1,000 skill uses. New title. Fire Wielder. Avatar buff. 10% increased damage using fire summoning. More notifications ring in my ear, giving small boosts in power to my fake avatar that mean nothing to me. All I focus on is the enormous rat, towering over a pile of its dead fellow lords, eating the avatar flesh of 2nd class rats. Beady black eyes, long white teeth, and massive claws. Just big enough to explain the destruction in the zones around this place. Its fur is tinted purple with poison, and a bright white crown slowly spins around its head. Other than the servant at the edge of the citadel, this is the first class lord I've seen in this system. From tail to nose, it's almost 20 meters long, and the moment we're spotted approaching, it opens its mouth to screech while releasing a dense wave of purple fog into its surroundings. The piles of dead rats, and the ones hardly clinging to life, slowly dying from poison, topple to the side as it claws the soil beneath its feet, moving our way, charging up bright white premium-grade ether commands. Neither Ava nor I move much, arms crossed, watching the terror come our way. "Same approach as usual?" she whispers. I nod back. Then, 2 glowing avatars of an unlikely pairing, a 3rd and a 5th class lesser race lord, begin to fight against this 1st class threat, one that was soon to take over many large surrounding territories and cause massive blackouts. The clouds of dense purple mist leaking from its pores are enough to kill 2nd class beasts in seconds. As Ava begins landing kicks and punches on its hide, tearing holes in its flesh, the monstrosity screeches out in pain like it's never felt before. Ava doesn't even need to borrow any stats. All she relies on is her avatar upgrade and brute strength. The divine grade self-regeneration flowing through her body makes the thick poison gas in the air as pure as normal air by the time it enters her lungs. Something this beast has never seen before in its enemies. I'd love to say it was an exciting and close battle, But it is not even close. The first-class Rat King is torn to shreds, outmaneuvered, and its flesh scattered across the mountains of its underlings' corpses. Many of the barely living rats in the surroundings feed on its avatar mass, dense with ether and nutrients, but many scurry away as an even more dangerous, green-glowing Goblin Queen scares them off with her destructive power. The pure force being produced by her blows is extremely questionable for a third-class lord, yet all of the commands and layers of protection I've programmed onto her are holding strong. It is all within the confines of the system. I smirk while running forward, seeing the white rib bones of a dying king of the rats exposed beneath its clouds of poison. I release over 3 dozen fireballs I've been storing up for the last half a minute while watching this battle from the sidelines. A blast of fire, flesh, ether, and divine threads follows. Use absorption. Upgrade, divine. Skill poison mist. Kill confirmed. Reward, 9,123.8055 low-quality ether. Add to crown pool. Yes. No. So the first-class crowns hold 10,000. I whisper under my breath while collecting one of its claws. Twice the size of my body but still glowing hot with ether like a soul weapon. Though, as I stand in the center of the blast, I feel the ether commands connecting this beast to the dome around me fade away. Outside the mirrored dome, Ren watches in silence, as the environment doesn't change at all, and the faint sounds of roaming wild lords echo through the desert behind them. The barrier begins to show holes in its surface, letting the dark outlines of maroon hills peek through. Like paper burning from candle fire, the gaps behind it grow larger and larger until the entire barrier disintegrates. Very few rats are left, and the majority of them are lower class, 4th and 5th, that never even followed the waves of rats to begin with. Ava and I walk out of the mess, with the fire residue from our trek to the center of the zone still burning, sending smoke up into the air. Run is wide-eyed as I stop and take a breath of fresh air that no longer carries any sour poison. Well, that was easier than I thought it'd be. That means we have a long way to go. Another full 12 hours pass, making it over a full day within the Grand Citadel. My curiosity for what lies behind the black zones is satisfied, so I do not take the risk of entering any more of them as we continue trekking through the wilderness. If I were to accidentally enter one created after an admin's departure, I would certainly have to expose myself to get out. Though, as we hike through over 100 more terrains, the strength of beasts grows again, and the size of each territory expands, some spanning larger than 100 kilometers. Even the safe zones are more spaced out. This layout was definitely designed to keep weaker lords away from whatever lies at the center. Even if everything that demonic servant at the edge of the citadel told me was a lie, I'm certain there is some kind of inner city or ether command center at its center. Not only that, but it has taken over half a day for the trackers in the 2 Wolfman's avatars to finally stop moving downward. I can feel them over 100,000 kilometers below our feet. The only logical explanation is that this citadel must be a sphere. I've upgraded water summoning and wind summoning to supreme grade, and received a new skill called clairvoyance from a premium quest, found in a forest region full of owl monsters. It allows the caster to increase their mana output directly toward brain activity, but only to perceive a small area around them with faster reaction time. I'm itching to try it out, but I have a feeling it will affect my environment too much, so I refrain. The imagery in the back of my mind, of Ember's surveillance of the Ellipsia Citadel, keeps me patient. I lightly remind myself and Ava through our link, just 6 more days. We have to find the core of this place sooner rather than later. While we scout out which zone to move to next, having just collected a few hundred new maps from the safe zone. Meanwhile, Ember calmly waits on the top floor of the High Orc Tower, watching as the generals all start to get serious, activating their greater forms once they surpass the 250th floor of the Ascension Chamber. His facial expressions are unreadable, and his crimson eyes stare into the center of the tower with far more perception than what is being transmitted to the Grand Citadel. It's happening again. Finally. I do not know how long it has been since new paths have been created. He thinks to himself while watching the strange hot waves of soul energy from the 4 generals mutate their bodies and minds, adapting them to the new limits of the upper realm. By his side, an extremely old path, one used by the Scarlet clan of berserkers, lies sleeping, yet ready to be used one last time. Though, Ember's nostalgia is interrupted by another wave of vibrations, ones he hasn't felt in tens of thousands of years, hitting his consciousness. His calm eyes widen, and instantly turn to ones ready for battle. The high noble vibrations of a blue wyvern subtly ripple through the Ellipsia Citadel after a massive breakthrough, as he is stabilizing and consolidating his physique beneath the sea of corruption. While it is not enough for any other lord here to feel it, Ember knows the Mensa Citadel has a noble demon of their own stationed there from the Vermilion family. Their energy detection systems may have picked up on this new fluctuation too, and it is far too early to reveal the fact that Seraphel has broken his seal, and that there is an enemy of the demons powerful enough to do so in the green zone of the upper realm. Chapter 807. Deep within the sea of corruption, within the crevasse of even denser black liquid, still as corrosive as it was tens of thousands of years ago when the Wyvern Citadel fell, Seraphel remains in his fully unsealed celestial form, glowing light blue and spanning over 100 kilometers from wingtip to wingtip. The fact that his high noble vibrations have been artificially sealed and forcefully pushed deep within his soul for millennia has caused a horribly painful delayed reaction in his breakthrough and control of this power. If his prison of seals were unshackled above the sea, this lord would have exploded into tiny fragments of divine threads, dispersing for tens of millions of kilometers across the green zone of the upper realm. The thousands of times more pressure and the unfathomable suppression of energy and movement speed beneath the sea are the only things keeping the outer layers of his body together as days pass. Even then, waves of vibrations are already leaking out from the sea and intensifying. Blue tendrils of water-imbued divine thread creep upward through the Black Sea as Seraphel's physique adjusts to its new environment, and his dulled and fatigued mind, that has been regressing beneath Ellipsia, adapts to the shock of finally having its power restored. In doing so, some of the excess pressure needs to escape in physical form. Even under the constraints of the corrupted sea, Seraphel is still at risk of shattering his body, mind, true core, and soul if he doesn't maintain total focus and acclimate to his restored power. This release to relieve the pressure, however, shoots upward out of the sea, creating what looks like upside-down blue lightning, blasting jagged waves of celestial-grade energy in random directions. Some even pierce upward through the green clouds, tinting the sky blue for millions of kilometers in every direction for a few seconds. They fade away, leaving only a slight aura of water magic residue in the air, and the shockwave of high noble vibrations dissipates as well. Seraphel's mind finally calms beneath the sea, and the pressure starts to slowly build up again. These high noble frequency waves rippling through the green zone of the upper realm fade away just as suddenly as they appeared. However, their presence prompts Ember to activate an ability, making his eyes sparkle with silver light. An invisible white glow made from ether, far denser than ordinary low-quality commands, shields the silver perception aura from being sensed as it's sent toward Seraphel, deep in the green zone of the upper realm. Another pulse is sent toward the Mensa Citadel as well, just to be safe. A gentle smile crosses his face as he nods, thinking, "It must have been necessary. He knows as well as I do how dangerous exposing a wave like that could be. I thought you were defeated, like all the rest, once I saw your eyes after millennia beneath Ellipsia. But looking at you now, Seraphel, I believe Jay may have strengthened your will." He even lets out a chuckle, the silver glint still in his eyes, before shifting his gaze from the sea of corruption to the berserker lying asleep next to him, then over to the tower full of generals, specifically Raven, as she stands in the center of floor 256 in her greater battle form, holding two long black swords. Every few seconds, the general activates her True Core's ability, slipping out of reality into her stealth dimension, where the decaying flesh caused by the dense attacking green threads is not as severe, and her ability to process the low-quality ether in the air is enhanced. It's as though she has a better grip on reality in this state, and a glint of scarlet-red pulses in her eyes, resonating with the swords she rightfully won on Kelfer. Additionally, whenever she feels as though she isn't pushing herself hard enough, two events surface in the back of her mind. The first is her battle in the Dark Continent against the Flame Emperor, when her spark to live was reignited. The second is the rush she felt while diving into the unknown, embracing the will to either win a battle or die trying, sacrificing her blades and part of her true core to kill a king stronger than herself. Every time she heals within her stealth dimension, the crimson glow alters, as it lacks a living will to keep it on a stringent path. Unknowingly, Raven is using the will of the Berserker King's Scarlet Clan's aura, shaping its properties to create an aura of her own to match her will. Ember whispers to Zacian as he sleeps, "Looks like your ancestor's spirit will live on in more ways than one. You won't be the last survivor. The Scarlet Clan lives on." Then, he turns to Ari on floor 297, where his unique chambers are filled with pure demonic energy, low-quality ether, and divine threads. Thousands of light purple hands, each with dense white cores, spread through the room, pulling in energy that floods into the young man's true core and demon core nearby. He has a mana-based core too, like the others, but it is far weaker and not fully melded with ether properly. This isn't exactly a disadvantage. In fact, it allows him to wield demonic energy with far greater focus and efficiency, like a demonic beast. Yet, his techniques, or even the fact that he's using demonic energy, are not what catch Ember's attention. It is the bow floating before him as he sits in a lotus position on the floor. It vibrates subtly, aiding Ares' physique with an invisible aura that weaves between his cells, allowing them to be torn apart on a microscopic level, even destroyed completely. Yet an echo of what they were remains in these vibrations. So, the shared divine grade self-regeneration skill adapts to his new vibrations streaming through his body and uses these echo-like memories to perfectly rebuild his flesh, even after it's completely gone. It allows him to focus more on shaping the demonic energy into his demonic core and processing the massive amounts of ether. Ember thinks, "So the Morvales really did keep one of those corpses around after you lost. I was wondering where your legacy went after all these years." Grinning, he remembers the battle he had with an old overseer in the desert of the Dark Continent, against the weakened reincarnation of an immortal Lich King, once the ruler of a dark elf race. His shimmering silver eyes track to Abby, calmly sitting in the center of floor 401, where the pressure is similar to what it is naturally outside in the upper realm. Though, there is far more mana and ether nourishing her body and mind. She is having the easiest time assimilating out of anyone here, with her third ranked-up buff activated, and true core ability pulsing outward to create a bright green outline of a sparkling physique around her body. She can pull in divine threads like she is breathing fresh air. They do not harm her at all. Not a single cell in her body is damaged. The threads and energy are absorbed directly into her divine core. If it weren't for the Amplifier-class soul weapon, which is now giving her a mental battle far more difficult than any physical one, she might have already made it to the top of the tower by now. It is pulsing like crazy, flashing many intricate runes, and transmitting far more past memories of the Wyvern race directly into her mind, from the point of view of thousands of noble-grade creatures that all participated in many great wars, both on the planet she just left and now up here in the green zone of the upper realm. Ember's eyes turn from the general's tower back in the direction of Seraphel, whose physique slowly fills with more noble vibrations beneath the sea of corruption, and he thinks deeply to himself once again. This is another outcome I could not have predicted, the immortal healer and the Wyvern race crossing paths. Instead of a smile, his face turns to one of contemplation, as if he is reworking the possibilities of a massive game of chess. Yet, instead of relief after figuring out the moves that must be taken, Ember's gaze is accidentally caught by a rainbow-colored angel on the 333rd floor of the Ascension Tower, making the probability of things going his way even more uncertain. Maria's third ranked-up buff is activated, and the Destroyer-class soul weapon in her grasp has grown to match the outline of her soul, spanning many kilometers in length. Massive amounts of energy from each floor of the tower are swirling around her, pouring into her soul energy core, which still houses her true core, tens of times larger than average. This is a variable the Rising Emperor did not anticipate. The tower itself is only made to get the generals ready to step foot outside in this realm. If there are not enough threads within the chamber, she can easily absorb more from the endless clouds in the green zone. The 2.5 million low-quality ether each and mana drained from tens of first-class worlds on the other hand, are necessary in order to fuel her soul energy core further, but may not be enough to satisfy this anomaly. Even though this should be the spectacle, Ember has already studied her soul energy core back in the lower realm. He knew exactly where it was headed to reach this point and how far it was capable of going. However, the glistening, refracting crystalline sword in her grasp, sending a light show of rainbows throughout every room she teleports upward in, is what Ember cannot take his eyes off. Source resin of this quality and purity in the upper realm, and it has submitted its will to a lord? Now that is something new, he thinks, as his perception technique begins to wear off, lessening the gleam of the silver glow in his eyes. The refracting crystal-clear light even shimmers within Maria's greater form, as she has made this entity's soul her weapon, and now their fates are intertwined as well. Yet, source resin is a malleable and highly volatile energy, one so rare and unpredictable in its purest form that only an overseer should be capable of controlling it. Yet here she is, holding the will of a noble grade world in her grasp. While the Ice Mage knows this is a unique weapon, one more powerful than anything else she could have possibly brought from the lower realm, not even Asik or Torvak, who have studied soul weapons all their lives, could properly comprehend what power she actually holds. I may have to be careful of this one. She has the potential to alter the system as well. He ponders, while his eyes finally lose their silver luster and return to crimson, standing in the silent top floor of the High Orc Tower. Chapter 808. In the lower realm, in the deepest depths of a canyon in the Crimson City, the final member of the Crimson Army finishes their power-leveling session in the most powerful labyrinth on the human world. Pluto, the true Chord common blood demon, follows the protocols of his orders and brings the labyrinth up to its 200th floor. There is enough pure mana inside this labyrinth to fuel an entire second-class world, as a majority of it was pulled from off-world. What is happening now should not be possible by normal means, certainly not on a third-class world. Initially, before meeting the Rising Emperor, the demon's only goal was to bring it to its first rank-up point, 100 floors, and present this offering to one of the 5 great families in order to apply for a position as an ascended Red Chord Knight. Now, as a barrage of mana settings flashes before the demon's eyes, the floors below him start to compress in on themselves, and the excess luminite from each floor's structural integrity forms a small item that melds with the demon's dark essence, creating a light purple key. The Earth Dragon that stands behind Pluto in the boss room watches with a gleam in his eyes, thinking deeply to himself, a mission to betray the demons, to make way for a new rising emperor. Then he speaks out loud as the final floor below them collapses. We cannot fail. No, we will not fail. The entire labyrinth collapses into a small orb of compressed mana. Yet the demon and dragon do not get teleported back into the Canyon of Dungeons. Instead, the two watch the boss room around them dissolve and float in a black abyss, reminiscent of a Titan's domain. It could be perceived as a pocket realm in between space or even a realm of its own, but in reality, it is just the shell of the last remnants of the labyrinth's mana programming. From the outside, the green spinning portal is still there, and if one were to jump through, they too would land in the strange black void. While it looks open and endless, one full-powered attack from either of the true cores sitting in it would easily tear it open and release them back onto the human world. This is not what they do. Instead, Pluto grips the purple key in his hand and plunges it into space in front of him. As he turns it with a single rotation, the key dissolves, and a tear in space opens in front of them. Behind the tear, the familiar endless red hills, desolate deserts, dark black towns filled with intelligent life, and roaming demonic beasts of the demonic realm, Pluto's home world, come into view. The tear in space opens wide enough for the 6-meter-tall archdemon and his bonded dragon to fly through, holding their brightly shining orb of pink light surrounded by dense white strands of protection. This is a very distinct object in the demon's home world, as one the size of a demon's palm is proof that they have cleared a labyrinth trial. The one in Pluto's grasp, larger than his own head and needing both hands to carry, is proof that he has completed the trial that even the most ambitious demons often hesitate to attempt. The tear in space closes just as quickly as it opened, and the green portal beneath the Canyon of Dungeons fades away, releasing the excess few million MP into the air. In the demonic realm, far out in the wastelands, the rift that opened up to let a demon and dragon out closes as well. The two bright yellow true cores begin to warp reality around them as a vast open world is seen below. Wild demonic beasts, fledgling demons, and tens of thousands of kilometers of open mountain ranges and deserts where demons train and commoners form civilizations to survive and ready themselves for labyrinth trials. As gravity bends around them with a dense yellow aura, Pluto lifts the glowing pink orb above his head with both hands, standing on his dragon's back, and lets out a long and exhilarating laugh. They are a few kilometers above the ground, but many fledgling demons look up at this anomaly, believing they are witnessing one of the generals of the 5 great families do a scheduled surveillance lap around this world. In reality, it is a commoner just like them, heading straight toward the 5 massive black thrones that sit at the North Pole. Confirmation of their arrival pings in Bree's consciousness as she sits calmly cultivating in her own private chamber on the Great Belt of Brimia. On the same asteroid, in an equal-sized chamber, her brother Rodrigo has begun his red core cultivation, while Fisher and Lydia both continue cultivating yellow threads on the opposite side of the ring to bring themselves closer to compressing their true cores. A few of the Crimson Army's knights are on the belt as well, alternating time slots when not on guard duty on the human world. Alvaron keeps a careful eye on the frozen first-class demons from the Morvale family that continue to orbit around the red star millions of kilometers away, while simultaneously monitoring all of the cultivators and processing thousands of profitable trades per minute on the worldwide connectivity system. This update is transmitted back to me inside the wilderness of the Grand Citadel, putting a smile on my face as we venture deep into a jungle biome full of third-class gecko monsters. A large number of the lords in these higher-class zones are intelligent life and do not wish to fight, only to hunt the wild beasts for profit. With my growing pool of ether from killing all of these monsters, the pace at which my crowns fill up accelerates too. The first crown in my set of 5 is almost a quarter of the way filled. Ava, on the other hand, has barely a small white glow at the bottom of hers. Though, my attention is more captivated by Bree's message, as it seems my plans in the lower realm have started to move into place just in time, with less than 6 days to spare. It puts a smile on my face, but this grin doesn't last for long as a message from Ember enters my consciousness next. No more than a few minutes later. There is good news and bad news. What would you like to hear first? I raise an eyebrow, as I've been watching what he sees in Ellipsia at the back of my mind this whole time, and it appears as though nothing out of the ordinary has happened at all. What happened? All I see is the generals moving up the tower as intended. A light chuckle comes back. Yes, that is the good news. Your ascension chamber is working as intended, and the generals are finding their own ways to adapt to the pressure like you did. In addition to this, Seraphel has managed to survive his first few days and has fully grasped the base stage of his celestial form. I raise an eyebrow and reply, "This all still sounds good. What's gone wrong?" Well, in order to survive his breakthrough, Seraphel released a wave of high noble vibrations strong enough for me to pick up on here. If no one notices now, his next breakthrough will surely cause some chaos. That means total concealment until the first strike will not be possible. I stare forward, looking into the endless wilderness, comparing the hundreds of biomes all around me to the skills left to upgrade on my status, and firmly nod while giving a response. Very well. I shall alter my plans accordingly. Update me again if there are any additional signs that they have caught on. I will. There is a nod back from Ember, and he only stares forward, watching the generals ascend further. I then speed up my walking pace and send a message to Ava through our link. It's time to step things up a notch. Total concealment is no longer the #1 priority. If they haven't caught on by now, their surveillance systems must not be as advanced as I thought. I pause for a moment, mentally pointing to our white-haired travel partner. While I'm extremely eager and curious about what or how an elf still exists in the upper realm, and why my purple ring resonated when touching their skin, even siphoning memories, it is extra baggage we must carry. The goal of this mission was to get a mapping of the Grand Citadel and scope out its weak points and battle forces before the generals and warlords execute their orders. Before I propose anything, Ava interjects, reading my facial expressions with ease. That lord is necessary. I don't know why, but my instincts. We can't leave Run behind just yet. I raise an eyebrow, then power my footsteps with ether and large amounts of mana while turning back to the white-haired lord that follows. We're going to pick up the pace. Stay close by. Nothing in here can hurt us. We're heading to the center of the wilderness. Chapter 809. Over 36 hours pass as we venture forward at a much faster pace than before, targeting only territories with skills I need. We avoid all black zones that don't have physical proof around their borders of wild beasts inside and accept every premium quest we come across to obtain more and more biome maps, expanding the view in our minimap. I methodically run down my status list, upgrading every single skill possible to Divine Grade and every single elemental summoning skill from Superior to Supreme. The only two elemental skills I'm not able to upgrade are Light Summoning and Dark Summoning, as they are far more rare than the others. My other skills are easier to find except for the much rarer abilities like Item Storage Spatial Magic, Appraisal, Conceal, Equivalent Exchange, Telepathy, Lie Detector, Imbuement, and Dungeon Walker. Telepathy and Dungeon Walker are demon-only skills, while the others are human-specific skills. There are no demons in this wilderness, and the humans that are in safe zones mostly have combat elemental skills, as they were the strongest lords on their world. Despite this, I acquire 4 new skills. Smokescreen is similar to Dark Mist but uses shimmering mana particles to create an area that overwhelms the senses, blocking perception skills from pinpointing the caster's location. I receive Laser Creation from a territory full of a golem race made of a translucent, crystal-like body. Some of their strongest store built-up mana inside their bodies and release it in compressed and refined rays. A mutated second-class ant monster from a premium quest, very similar to the lord I met in the first safe zone, grants me an exoskeleton skill that not only adds a layer of protection around my body, but also increases my strength and movement speed with visible tendrils of energy on the outside of my body. Lastly, another unique first-class monster from a premium quest, which looked like a steel ball with a single eye, used a skill called Select. It allows the caster to lock onto a system user and always be aware of their location, no matter how many perception blockers they use or how much distance they travel. It is similar to the ether commands I placed on the Wolfmen, but only mana-based, giving similar results to my geolocator perk in my Rising Emperor's domain. However, it does come with the added perk of a swordsmanship-like ability to always feel the perfect path to a selected target's weak point. Each of these new, divine grade skills grants me true core abilities, but I'm not able to test anything out without blowing my cover. I keep traveling toward the center of the Grand Citadel. In addition to this, mine and Ava's item storages are filling up with all kinds of Dead Soul weapon artifacts and parts of monsters that have been fully saturated with ether, allowing them to stay in one piece from their original bodies in mutated states. Many of the second and first-class artifacts are of a similar quality to some of the items Asik and Torvak gave me after completing their avatar builds for my soul sword to devour. I keep a close watch on the 2 wolfmen who have been transported below the wilderness, but they do not budge for over a full day. It's as though they're in some kind of holding cell, hardly moving more than a dozen meters in any direction. However, after a certain point, they begin to descend even further, and the ether commands I programmed into their avatars are being manipulated and weakened. If this were intentional, I had set self-destruct commands to erase all evidence of tampering, so whatever is weakening this connection is the result of a full overhaul of the Lord's avatars. While my curiosity about what is happening below builds, my excitement for nearing the inner point of the wilderness grows as well. We've traveled at a far faster pace this past day and a half, moving through hundreds of biomes and tens of thousands of kilometers. Over a dozen premium quests were fulfilled, and we cleared over twice as many random black zones that were clearly monster-infested. With these rewards and by trading in various safe zones during our travels, we managed to stack up a few thousand biome maps and even found a clear pathway to what many call the Great Wall. I can see its edge clearly in my minimap, and at this rate of travel, it's about 1 full day away. From the descriptions of many third and second class lords in the safe zones of these higher grade biomes, the demonic servant that showed a hologram of the Grand Citadel was not lying about one thing. There is certainly a massive pillar blocked off from the outer wilderness. It is rumored to rise high into the sky and connect with the top of the dome, as many have tried to fly over it and returned unsuccessful. It is supposedly made of the same ether commands as a black zone, but inverted to keep all lords, intelligent or not, from entering whatever lies inside. Just a little further. I smile once this final piece of data is shared with me, and we leave another safe zone, heading straight toward this Great Wall. However, despite this progress, other variables are shifting around the green zone of the upper realm. The first is the fact that many of the first-class demonic servant admins that stand at their posts across the outer walls of the Grand Citadel are getting an abnormal amount of quests fulfilled and black zones cleared in a small area of the wilderness. While it is not entirely uncommon for a rogue first-class monster to go on a rampage and kill everything in its sights for many biomes in a row, there is a clear pattern here of an intelligent lord to be the mastermind behind it, and messages on a private admin chatting channel for this small slice of the wilderness become active, beginning to share their surveillance data to find the root cause. In the meantime, Seraphel is near his breaking point again. There is only so long he can use the suppression technique to keep his high noble radiation from leaking out at full blast. Even with small breathing holes in his physique, radiation still seeps out from the sea of corruption for over 1 million kilometers. Luckily, no civilization is close enough to sense it, but the wave threatening to break out of his physique is far stronger than the first. What Ember theorized before was right. Just spending a few weeks with the rising Emperor has strengthened his will. The strength of one's noble vibrations is determined by many factors, but one is the unwavering confidence and belief in one's existence and goals. After millennia trapped beneath the Ellipsia Citadel, after losing another war and watching all his allies killed before his eyes once again, this mythical creature's trust in himself, and the system itself, wavered. Though, after having his unbreakable seals dissolved by a human of all races, the bright blue wyvern glowing beneath the sea has gained the will to fight one last time and give it his all. Ember keeps his senses keen, watching the generals continue to climb the tower, but his eyes keep shifting toward the Mensa Citadel. When he sent out a scan earlier to check on Seraphel, he lightly probed the citadel as well, and in doing so, he discovered the identity of the noble demon that watches over it. At first, Ember assumed there might be some kind of automated surveillance system, but once he gets a good look and recognizes the demon present, he knows that no such system is necessary. Cisco Vermilion, the only other noble demon beneath the family head. At first glance, one would assume that this noble is of equal or similar strength to the former lord of the Ellipsia Citadel, Andres Vermilion. However, Ember remembers this demon from his last visit to the upper realm, before the Green Zone's complete takeover, when this demon's name was Cisco Morvale, a commander in the old Fourth Great Family's army, serving beneath Muriel when he was a general. Ember does not share this information, keeping the true potential of this demon a secret and waiting for them to make a move first before jumping to conclusions. In the Mensa Citadel, atop an enormous central tower overlooking a bustling city center full of intelligent lords from 5th to 1st class, comparable in size to Ellipsia's free business markets, this demon in question watches the clouds slowly drift by outside his top-floor viewing window. A day and a half ago, the High Noble's radiation from an old registered point where the Wyvern Citadel once stood reached his senses, and this noble demon responded with proper protocol. Though not protocol from his family head here in the Green Zone. Rather, orders that were given to him before this family was even founded, orders from Lucian Morvale himself. All updates regarding the warlords, and especially the Wyvern's lost citadel, are to be rerouted directly to the mastermind behind this realm's takeover. Muriel is convinced that nothing from the lower realm could ever challenge him, and the other family heads do, in fact, believe he is strong enough to hold his position. Even the vanguards fear the potential of his power and do not see him as physically weak. Though his mental state is where cracks may lie. The power he holds is very dangerous, volatile, and at times unpredictable. So it is only natural that fail-safes and spies are scattered throughout the Green Zone to ensure his ego does not ruin them all. This is why, after over a day of waiting, Cisco finally receives a message back from a private line connected to the Morvale family head in the Cyan Zone of the Upper Realm. We have little time to speak before the realm link breaks. This is normally only used for family heads. You have brought it to my attention that the last wyvern broke his seal? The noble demon stands over 16 meters tall, with 4 white horns curling upward from his head, two smaller ones at his temples, and another two larger ones curling backward like armor for his skull. The demon's true core is fully saturated, and he uses a perfect vibration suppression technique to keep his power under wraps, or the entire citadel below him would fall unconscious. He replies, looking in the direction of the wyvern's fallen citadel. Indeed, it should not have been physically possible to break those seals without killing himself, yet I've just felt the release of a high noble's will. Other than myself, there should be no others with this capability in the green zone of the upper realm. There's a pause, no reply, so Cisco sends another message back. Andras has been killed, as you must know, and that new noble demon has ascended. Could this all be connected? Are we being betrayed again? Has the fallen one returned? There is only silence for a few more seconds as more green clouds slowly drift by, but Lucian finally replies. I don't believe he has. I read Draco's history file, and the testing he underwent in the lower realm confirmed his dragon was not a traitor. He even killed off 3 of the warlords in Ellipsia. While unlikely, this does not mean he is uninvolved. I do have a legitimate lead to follow instead. The Scarlet clan of the Berserker race has interfered with my search party that was meant to survey Kelfur, the homeworld of that wyvern. My orders are to awaken the Dark Army in the fortress to deal with Seraphel, and I want you personally to round up every Berserker in the Mensa and Ellipsia citadels for interrogation. Cisco hesitates to reply as he feels their link beginning to weaken, and Lucian gives one last message. Do not concern yourself with Muriel. I will handle breaking the news to him. He cannot be distracted, and must make sure the Grand Citadel is not compromised. Understood. Your orders will be fulfilled. Chapter 8:10. I look out into the wilderness, scoping out a new biome that spans over 100 kilometers before me. It is a unique mountainous region, with small wildlife like trees and shrubbery, but a large percent of the biome's floor is full of lava pools. In them, unintelligent salamanders live, most of them triple ranked up with supreme fire summoning skills. This appears to be a large trend in the biomes around here. There are hardly any intelligent lords outside of the safe zones, and many of the wild beasts are elementals and 3rd or 2nd class. The occasional 1st class beast even appears every once in a while. Pretty much every single monster is strong enough to be a premium quest in the biomes we started in a few days ago. We mostly avoid the aggressive ones that attack, but Ava kills anything that won't leave us alone. A handful of Dead Soul weapon artifacts are still harvested every biome we move through. Another full 24 hours pass, and I do manage to come across 2 new unique skills. One called Energy Preservation, from a plant race that mostly used earth magic, but a few have the ability to store extra mana in a pseudo-mana core, almost like an item storage skill, so that when their energy stores are depleted, they do not have to continue draining MP from the environment. Instead, they're able to activate this skill and gain a full restock instantly. While I can use Plunderer and deposit mana crystals from my item storage to gain a very similar effect, it also has a true core ability that I'm itching to try. In addition to this, I gain a new skill called Whisper, which is a weaker form of telepathy and has to be sent directly to a single target within a certain range. A mental message can be sent, though the receiver cannot reply. However, one of the upgraded perks of this skill allows the caster to send messages into inanimate objects and have audio recordings play in perfect quality from anywhere. Fighting the mutated humanoid bat creatures with this skill was quite annoying at first, as they used this perk to make it sound like they were in places they were not. Though Ava's instincts were not fooled at all. Dozens of other zones with higher ranked up forms of monsters I've seen in dungeons before pass by, and I watch the Great Wall that everyone in the safe zones talks about get closer and closer. Ava is having a great time, visibly smiling and laughing while killing 2nd and 1st class beasts left and right with brute strength. My expression is quite positive too, but I stay very calm at a steady pace by Ren's side behind our Goblin Queen bodyguard. The white-haired elf's expression changes from indifference to confusion, to worry and contemplation the closer we get to the Great Wall. Once less than 5 safe zones away, under 1,000 kilometers according to my minimap, the 5th class lord poses a question to me with a shaky tone. Why? Why are you bringing me along? We still run forward, following Ava's trail of carnage through a mountainous trail with light blue rocks, keeping a lookout for the massive bear creatures wielding ice magic in this region. I think about the answer for a moment but decide to place a hand on Ren's shoulder and reply through telepathy. To be honest, I don't know. At first, it was pure curiosity. I was going to ask you a few questions and split ways after the first safe zone. The purple ring on my finger vibrates again upon contact with this lord, and I grin and continue talking, remembering the strange memories I received the first time we made contact like this. Then, there happened to be a few more questions I wished to be answered. I've never seen an elf before. I thought they all went extinct by now. Well, I'm still not sure I've seen a real one. My gaze tightens as I try to look deeper into Ren's physique again, but I am struck with the same results, only sending back pure energy as this lord's makeup. It really does feel like I'm trying to scan a soul weapon without a wielder, full of ether, mana, and divine threads. Then again, this is extremely similar to how Seraphel felt when I first met him beneath Ellipsia and did not have enough perception to comprehend or see past his seals. The massive blue creature only looked like a hot white glowing mass below his skin. A reply comes back from Ren as we jump off a mountain's ledge, following Ava down into the next biome, a black sand desert. If you're only bringing me along to learn about the elves, I'm sorry, but I cannot tell just anyone what you want to know, even if that means you will kill me here and now. A sense of loneliness and nostalgia ripples through my ring, and I can't help but let out a laugh as we both slam down onto the ground after a 500-meter fall. It's not that serious. Even if you don't have a word to tell me, I'm not going to kill you, but my words are cut off as, at the moment of impact, the emotions rippling through the ring begin to heighten like one other time before. Ava even turns her head backward, sensing something strange happening between us. Then, my vision goes completely blank for a moment as more memories start rushing into me. I see the imagery of this elf looking into a still body of water, repeating words telling it, "Never turn in your crowns. Always keep moving, wait for his return." But it quickly fades, and the feeling of moving even further back in time hundreds of years shows this lord wandering the outer ring just like in the previous memories. I watch Ren use all kinds of light magic illusions, hiding from countless third, second, and even first-class beasts, outsmarting them to go in for the kill or running away when they know it is a battle impossible to win. The years go back further and further, making countless laps around the outside of the wilderness. Easily thousands of years. From the experience absorbing the memories of many unintelligent demonic beasts beneath Ellipsia, even if these memories are fractured and fuzzy, I have quite a good gauge on how much time has passed. The indifferent, fearful, and solemn look on this lord's face begins to make far more sense once the memories speed up, going even further back, over 10,000 years, then 20,000, then 40, and then easily 50,000 years or more pass. They are not crystal clear, and it's only moments of high emotional peaks that are transmitted. The rest are irrelevant, fading away in the past. The memories get weaker and weaker, and I get the feeling I'm about to be cut off again, jolted back into reality. But an extremely strong and clear image is burned into my mind out of nowhere. I see a massive tear in the ceiling of the Grand Citadel. Ear-piercing screeches fill the dome, and countless lords all around as far as Ren can see have fallen to the floor unconscious. I cannot feel the energy waves and memories, but the way the environment is reacting, it appears as though noble vibrations are leaking through that tear in the dome. Hundreds of green-cord wyverns fly through the open air of the green zone, and there is a similar force of demons riding dragons clashing with them. The white-haired lord watches with awe, and the feelings of hope and nostalgia ripple through this entire image, flowing through my ring and into my heart. "He's returned again," the elf whispers while watching the wyverns clash with demons. My attention within this memory shifts to see a massive blue wyvern, with its greater form stretching over 100 kilometers wide, leading the strike. Though many of the demons and their dragons have dark black greater forms stretching tens of kilometers wide as well. My heart begins to race as I recognize who that wyvern really is leading the army, and my excitement to watch Seraphel in a real clash grows, though I can only see through Ren's eyes in these memories, and this elf lord is not watching the wyverns. It's watching one of the dragons on the side of the demons that breaks formation and starts to spray translucent fire across the front line of demonic forces, instantly melting them alive. A massive blast of aura fills the sky as the true battle begins, blinding Ren's view of the fight. But the single image of a very familiar sharp crimson eye in the dragon that betrayed the demons makes me question if I have just witnessed Ember in one of his past lives for the first time. This blast breaks me out of my trance, and Ren realizes that something wrong has happened as well, as the purple ring touching their shoulder has become burning hot and is making a ringing sound in both of our ears. The elf lord jumps backward with terror on their face, not looking at me, but looking at the ring on my finger. Where did you get that artifact? No, how has that possibly come down from the higher zones? Does that mean? No. Who are you? I feel this lord's light magic begin to flare up, and the intensity in their eyes returns, as speculative and ready to fight as the first day I saw them with the wolfmen. It's like I'm looking at a whole new lord before me. Ren's hands heat up white with burning hot ether, and words come out of their mouth that I was not expecting. Tell me now, or I'll be forced to kill both of you where you stand. The intensity increases even further, and the frail and confused lord that has been following us for days seems to be completely gone. The blank look behind Ren's eyes has disappeared, and this lord's personality has flipped a full 180 degrees. I grin and activate ether commands in my hands to make them glow white as well. I found it on my homeworld, in the lower realm actually. The sharp elf's eyes shift to the artifact, which is now nothing but a black ring, as my ether commands and the ring itself have been completely concealed since the moment we entered this wilderness. It looks like nothing more than a dead basic class soul weapon. However, upon contact, during the accidental siphoning of memories, it appears Ren has seen its true divine thread coloring. Lies! She would never fall to the lower realm. Ren screams back in an angry tone. I open my mouth to reply, but an intense mana control washes over both of us from about 100 meters to my right. Ava's voice yells out, "Stop fighting, you two. You can kill each other when we're done here. We have bigger problems than the whereabouts of some ring." Both of our heads turn to the Goblin Queen filled with confusion, but our eyes widen simultaneously once we see why she yelled at us to stop. In the distance, descending down from the sky in the center of this black sand desert, there is, in fact, something far more important than our disagreement. Over 21st class demonic servants with crowns above their heads float downward and begin to alter their rigid formation, creating a large circle and landing around us in a wide ring. All of their hands light up with white energy, activating simultaneous admin-only ether commands. Chapter 8:11. We're so close to the Great Wall. Less than 4 full biomes away and we've been caught now. This doesn't change the fact that Ren's personality hasn't shifted back to their docile and cooperative state. I can still feel sharp white eyes digging into my hand where Celia's ring rests. It seems that despite 21st class demonic servants surrounding us, this is still the highest priority target in their mind. I grit my teeth while watching bursts of ether commands come out from every one of the admin's hands, as I do not want to have more enemies than necessary. So, I take a chance and send a small pulse of mana-only aura through the air using my new Whisper skill, using the thick mana control from Ava's outburst as cover. The one you're waiting for, that dragon with crimson eyes. I know where to find him. Let's work together here, and we'll both get what we're looking for. The fierce look turns up from my ring to meet my gaze, but saying this has not made things any better. I let out a sigh and accept that I'll be dealing with an angry elf and 21st class guards while I watch a simulated black zone form around us, about 500 meters wide, with only the servants glowing green against the black backdrop. Outside, I can only assume there is a glimmering mirror, making us disappear into the vastness of the black desert. My hands heat up even more, and my eyes meet the identical lifeless expressions of each admin, preparing for whatever they throw at me. Fine, I'm on your side until this is over. Then I want an explanation. I hear come out from Ren's lips, and the aggressive aura pointed only toward me fades. My ring picks up new emotions, curiosity and a burst of hope filling the white avatar. But my attention is more focused on the 7 to 10 meter tall demonic figures surrounding us. Deal. I grunt out. Then, one of the admins speaks up once the artificial black zone formation is finished. Do not move if you wish to live, echoes out in the deep, default demonic servant voice through the dome, and pulses of basic scanning ether commands burst out from other servants in the formation. 2 5th-class human lords and a 3rd-class goblin. All of their avatar settings are legal. Comes out from the mouth in the same tone from one of the servants on the other side of the dome. The strength of the black zone barrier around us strengthens more. Then a ripple of commands waves through it, coming back into the hands of each of the demonic servants, and they all take a step forward. A new servant speaks next. Even though your scans come back legal, we cannot have rogues like you running around this wilderness, disrupting our paradise without limits. The 3 of us stand in a small triangle at the circle's center, and the servants begin marching in on us without explanation, speaking to each other with a nonchalant tone like they do this often. Honestly, I was expecting another one of those first-class mammoths. Or at least a berserker giant. Another one comments. Yeah, no wonder it took so long. We were searching in all the wrong places. Humans and goblins. I don't think I've ever seen either of these races this deep in the wilderness before. Almost made it to the Great Wall too. A shame, we could have made a good profit betting on underdogs like this, but none of them have registered crown cycles submitted. They could have been unique challengers for the arena. They all stop talking back and forth as though we're not even here after closing the gap between us by nearly half. The first admin that spoke up, giving us the order to halt, speaks again, directing his gaze at Ava, who looks like our leader. We have 2 options for you. Either the 3 of you be eliminated here and now, or you come to the nearest safe zone with us and cash in one of those crown cycle coupons you've been taking from us. It's impolite to keep selling off the gifts you've been given. He smiles and takes a step forward, but my attention is still held on one of the silent admins. Moments ago, he mentioned that there was an arena behind the Great Wall. I picture the hologram of the Grand Citadel that the admin I met on the outside showed me and question if he was telling the truth about all of that too, despite the timer that would have said less than 3 days remaining now having disappeared from my status. Ava looks at the servant that steps up to her, with its long horns and premium avatar, trying to intimidate a lower-class lord. I send her a telepathy message that makes the corner of her lips turn up. Then, to everyone's surprise here except for me, Ava runs forward with a burning hot fist and yells, "No chance? Both of your offers suck." She punches the admin in the chest, creating deep fractures in his avatar and sending him flying backward against the back wall of the black dome we stand in. Ava could have easily killed this servant if she used her real ether stores or even a tiny % of borrowed stats, but all I want is chaos for a few seconds to prove a point and ask this one admin that spiked my interest a question. My right hand lights up with flames, and I simulate stacking dozens of fireballs and ether commands into my palm, just like I've been doing to defeat premium-grade quests without suspicion. While physically possible, a normal 5th-class lord should not have the mana control or mental speed to comprehend so many commands at once. However, it is technically possible, and that's how I haven't set off any automated alarm systems. Even now, as I toss the burning white and red ball of fire at the admin closest to me, it underestimates its power and throws up a single hand to block without even bothering to activate any defensive ether commands. However, the explosion, and an entire demonic servant's arm breaking into thousands of pieces in the air, shows the reality of what is really happening to them right now. I let out a laugh that matches Ava's as I charge up my other hand with fire, and she sends a kick toward another guard who has pulled out a soul sword to try and block her. My next compacted ball of fire is blocked with ether commands from the next admin I send it at, saving their avatar from breaking entirely, but cracks in their arm show as they're sent flying backward. The soul sword Ava slams her foot into brakes under the pressure of her kick, and her admin is sent flying back as well. Out of the corner of my eye, I watch Rin disappear behind a veil of light magic, yet I sense an invisible arrow fly out from their position, targeting one of the admins running at my back. It collides with the admin's chest at a very specific weak point and paralyzes the servant, making it fall to the floor with eyes wide. The remaining admins all begin to group together, with half a dozen closing in on me, half a dozen on Ava, and the rest converging on the position where Ren was before disappearing. I would do a similar move to prolong the fight further, but I feel a very interesting set of ether commands activating while bursts of white light come out from all of their hands again. Admin override activated. New title, Rule Breaker. Avatar debuff. All stats and command strength decrease by 99%. I hear it echo in my inner ear as the commands linked to my fake avatar weaken so much that they are almost useless. It makes me grin inwardly, and I send another message to Ava, alerting her to play along. Ran, on the other hand, is jolted out from the shimmering veil of light magic, shock crossing their face. Simultaneously, the three of us are surrounded by demonic servants with soul weapons to our necks. 5 admins are injured, but the rest are untouched and think they have the upper hand, believing they could kill us at a moment's notice. Chapter 8:12. Unlike myself and Ava, the debuff commands sent out seem to have affected Ren's avatar, making it extremely easy to hold them in place. At such close range, surrounded by over a dozen first-class premium avatars, the natural intimidation and pressure of ether commands, dense divine threads, and mana control should be suffocating. Yet, my eyes still shift toward the guard that initially caught my interest. He holds a double-sided sharpened axe to the left side of my neck. We didn't look so strong, did we? Even after seeing our stats and track record in the wilderness. Its gaze tightens at my words, and the sharp tip of the axe thrusts forward to make contact with my neck as he replies. Just because you can catch a few of us off guard doesn't mean you're of any real threat to admins. For injured demonic servants all begin to heal, spreading white ether into their avatar cracks, and even the arm of the first servant I blew off starts to restructure itself and slowly grow back. They all stand to their feet and split up to join the 2 other groups surrounding Ava and Ren. The 5th guard that was struck by Ren's invisible arrow, on the other hand, is still fidgeting on the ground. Strange white bursts of light are coming off it, and my curiosity to see what exactly happened is overwhelming. This lord clearly hit some kind of weak point and injected a small amount of ether into the guard, disrupting the natural command flow. While I could very easily replicate such a thing, I certainly can't using the normal command prompts. Whatever attack Ren threw used real ether control. Though my mind quickly turns back to the conversation at hand, and I respond to the admin that has an axe to my neck. Well, if we could catch you off guard as 5th-class lords, don't you think we could fool those watching the arena events? A gleam shows in my eyes as I smile, hoping he understands what I'm saying. As he's the guard that said out loud earlier it was a shame they couldn't bet on us as underdogs and make some profit. Though, a pressure grows on my neck as he thrusts his axe forward, forcing me to take a step back and have the other side of my neck touch a long sword and a curved dagger from 2 other admins behind me. This won't be as simple as I thought. You already made your decision not to work out a deal when you attacked us, he states in a stern tone. None of the other demonic servants seem to have any changes on their faces. Yet, something no one here knows is that I have extremely intricate knowledge of demonic servant avatars. So intricate, in fact, that over 8,000 of them serve me back in the Ellipsia Citadel, and I know that many of them are programmed to follow strict orders against their will despite being fully conscious within these frames. While they all have the outward appearance of bright green demons, there could be any first-class lord inside these shells. Last chance. Let us compete and we both walk free. It's a win-win, right? Now that we're making contact, my senses are quite heightened, and I can actually feel the real lord beneath this avatar shell hesitate, wanting to make a deal with me. But an intense rush of ether commands force him to say something else. Only cooperative lords will be designated to participate in the arena. 1 crown cycle at minimum is a requirement to walk past the Great Wall. None of you could even make it into the inner city in the first place. I let out a sigh and then send a dense wave of ether and unsuppressed mana control into this lord's body. The ether commands pulse outward, infecting every command on the surface of this avatar, specifically the automated commands suppressing its free will. The mana control rushes into its consciousness, and an echoing message of telepathy tells it a specific set of instructions to follow in the next few seconds if it wants to live. The servant's eyes widen as I explode with a burst of light magic that expands throughout the entire artificial black zone we're in. To all of the surveillance systems, it seems like I've just stacked hundreds of light magic-enhanced ether commands outward, shocking the system momentarily. In such a controlled environment, it's actually far easier to pull this off than trying this stunt out in the open. I replicate the technique Run used to deactivate all of the other aggressive servants around me with a single finger's touch, then move forward to start attacking some of the other guards holding Ava and Ren at death's edge with their soul weapons. Once the flash of light magic and ether commands fades and everyone can see within the dome again, over half of the servants are deactivated and unconscious, while the other half now have their soul weapons digging deep into the backs of all three of us. Admin Override activated. New title. Chained. Avatar debuff. All stats and command strength decrease by 99%. Another debuff notification rings in my inner ear, limiting our added stats and command strength even further because I was still able to cheat it with a perceived 1% of my power left. Now, if I was truly relying on this avatar, it would be at 0.01% effectiveness, most likely making it impossible to move or activate any magic. Simultaneously, however, I've gained a brand new link of loyalty and a single new first-class world, coming from a berserker giant race in a star sector of this galaxy I've never seen before. The admin that has my neck pinned down with his axe sends me a wave of telepathy through our spectate feature. If that's what you truly desire, I can make it happen. Anything to repay what you have just done for me. I grin, face down in the black sand, as this freed demonic servant speaks up and turns his head back and forth at the remaining guards. Allow me to bring them to the nearest safe zone. Even though they've made fools of us, the three of them are high-quality candidates for the arena. One of the servants that fought with Ava earlier presses the broken soul sword she shattered against her back, then turns. You're right. They are stronger than many premium quest beasts. Another voice comes from a dagger wielder holding Rin down. We'll never break the Citadel Lord's curse with brute force alone. If they can catch us off guard, maybe they could take out a demo. Before this admin can finish his sentence, an override command triggers, making his eyes turn blank, showing very similar signs to what I witnessed happen twice before in the first safe zone I visited, every time a topic that shouldn't be shared was brought up. The other servant holding down Rin shivers at the sight and looks back toward me. Restrain them and pay for an express cycle. The events start in less than 3 days. The axe wielder nods and reaches into his ether storage, and I watch 2 other servants do the same. 3 pairs of extremely thick black bricks with wrist-sized holes in them come out. I can feel the ether commands on them are strong and would most likely constrain any of the warlords back in Ellipsia in their non-ranked-up forms. Whatever these soul artifacts are, they are certainly for out-of-control rampaging beasts, yet I'm not too worried. I feel 2 servants grab my wrists, and by the time the cold black stones lock my hands in place, I've already figured out how they work and how to break out if need be. The remaining 0.01% of strength left in my fake avatar feels like it's been sealed completely. I don't think a normal lord would even be able to move their bodies at all with these commands restricting them. Ava lets herself be cuffed with a nonchalant expression as well, but Run puts up a fight, flailing about before I turn my head in the sand her way and send a whisper their way. Less than a full minute later, the artificial black zone is taken down, and the 3 of us are taken into custody by the demonic servant that is on our side. Some of the deactivated servants from earlier that I knocked out are waking up, and some jump right into battle instinctively, but the ones that witnessed everything calm them down and explain. Well, it was no mammoth, but I guess we can still make some profit betting on them once they enter. I'm just happy my biomes won't be messed with anymore. All of the strongest beasts were massacred in half my territories. Yeah. I forget how smart humans can be sometimes. That guy sure has a mouth on him to get himself out of that one. Is it really that surprising? You know how 27440 is. It doesn't take much to convince him to take a gamble. The recovering servants talk to themselves nearby like we're not even here, and I grin inwardly, confirming that I read their prior conversations correctly. A few of the servants send out large pulses of ether in seemingly random directions. Some of them fly straight upward toward the top of the dome, while others fly out into the wilderness to check on other biomes. Despite being almost killed, they all seem to be going on with their day like nothing happened. There's only one other servant left besides the one I turned. It's the one that spoke first when we were first confronted. Well, 27440, I'll take your word for what happened during the flash. Even the array's surveillance couldn't register anything. He looks my way, then back at the admin. I'll submit a formal report. Once they've completed their crown cycles and make it past the wall, send over their entry numbers. I'm sure every admin here wants a chance to bet. Of course. The admin nods, and the final enemy flies away, leaving the three of us in handcuffs in the middle of a desolate black sand desert. A few small white pulses of light hit us, and the full-body restrictions slightly loosen, giving us enough mobility to start walking in the direction of the Great Wall. I get close enough to Ren to create a mental link, and both the demonic servant and Ava are already present in my mind. So, tell us about this arena event, and how a first-class berserker giant like yourself possibly got yourself trapped in a position like this? Chapter 8:13. Well, I can answer both your questions by explaining the arena. As you've already assumed, we admins search for the strongest beasts and lords that come to the upper realm to participate in a monthly tournament hosted by the demons. We silently walk through the black sand desert in a line with a heavy black block of ether commands wrapped around our wrists, while this demonic servant walks behind us and continues. They usually use it as training practice and to test out their new creations. I raise an eyebrow. Creations. Yes, a lot of the strongest first-class wild beasts that come through here are always registered into the system and oftentimes transported elsewhere to be tested on by the royal families. They create stronger demonic beasts and have them fight for the inner city's entertainment. He pauses but quickly continues. But that's not to say there aren't many opportunities for Grand Citadel citizens to participate and enjoy the shows. On your file, it says you only entered the wilderness days ago. That must mean you heard about this place from Ellipsia. I nod. I did. But there is not much information available. Yes, most that come here don't leave. And if they do, they forget because they're crown cycles. I immediately turn around as his speech slows, and I watch the eyes of this demonic servant gloss over. Even with a link of loyalty connecting us and the restrictions in his avatar released, the same wave of cold energy, reminiscent of the single meeting I had with Muriel Vermilion, washes through him. It comes from deep within this berserker's soul, something that my simple sealed ether commands can't alter, and something I didn't even sense was present. What was it I was saying? He replies, making me stare back toward the open desert and choose my words more wisely moving forward before I understand this curse. You were going to tell me how you received a position as a demonic servant in the first place. Right, well, I lost the wrong match in the arena. Ava butts in and asks, you lost one match and you were enslaved? Yes. You still do not know a lot about this citadel, it seems. Every month's event is different. The rewards and punishments are quite extreme. I participated in quite a few. Sometimes they even let us spend time in Ellipsia and Mensa in between matches. Though you're playing with fire, you'd be better off trying to escape right now. The admin looks upward, but I shake my head. I could leave now if I wanted. It'd just put a bigger target on my back than I want just yet. Trust me, we want to enter this tournament, and I know the risks. Getting to the core of the citadel without the demons knowing we've entered will be a great help. So much so, that if you have other admin lords in a similar position, I can free them too. We just cannot make things known for a few more days. I grin as I watch the message boards of the worldwide connectivity system light up with hundreds of thousands of messages from first-class berserkers from this admin's home world. As this is the first time in thousands of years they have received any kind of update on their lord in the upper realm. If that is what you wish, your words are my commands. Good. Once we make it past the Great Wall, I want you to submit 2 other lords into the arena event. They're 2 wolfmen that are currently receiving avatar upgrades from a crown cycle. My location trackers on them have dulled significantly, but I can share their last known location and their exact appearance and avatar specs. I begin mentally sharing the data with the admin, then request a list of other admins this berserker knew before getting trapped, and then request as much information on past arena events he's participated in. At the same time, Ava smiles and walks forward beside me without a care in the world. Ran, on the other hand, is extremely confused, on edge and fearful. And as we're making physical contact to keep our mental link steady, My purple ring picks up on these growing emotions more and more as we walk all the way through the desert. Meanwhile, Ember calmly sits in his dark room of the High Orc Tower. The Berserker giant by his side now lets out a very light red glow, signifying that his assimilation with the new avatar upgrade has worked, and the aura they trained so hard to awaken has successfully been maintained, as it comes from deep within the soul. Ember's eyes watch as all of the generals climb past the 500th floor of the tower as well. Abby is even close to surpassing the 700th. All of them are fighting their own mental and physical battles and in a state of total concentration. He doesn't want to even congratulate them on their progress so far, as even this may be enough to throw off their entire processes of mutation. Instead, he admires their progress from afar, but his calm gaze does move away from the tower and off in the direction of the fortress citadel. Earlier, before the realm wave even struck, when Randall and Syl, the Red Ogres, carried out a pickup for supplies to make new avatars for the warlords, Ember gave them a small item to leave behind. This small box has been lightly pulsing white on the outside, with untraceable amounts of silver threads rotating within it, waiting and monitoring the entire citadel for the presence of noble vibrations to trigger its array. Finally, the time has come, and the information Ember receives back is alarming but not unexpected. It starts off as 1 or 2 pings in his consciousness every few minutes, then becomes a few dozen, then hundreds with growing strength. If they awakened that army, Seraphel's aura was certainly picked up. Nothing else could kill him in his celestial form. Ember thinks to himself while receiving full-body scans of hundreds of demonic creatures waking up from a long sleep. Then, he looks back toward the Mensa Citadel, even though it is too far to see without activating his advanced visual technique in his human form. Just outside of his perception, Cisco Vermilion has followed through with the orders that his old family head in the Cyan Zone gave him. There has been a Citadel-wide announcement, alerting all Berserker Giant Lords and any affiliated business partners in the Citadel to turn themselves in and come to the Central Tower to be interrogated. Thousands of demonic servants have been sent out to enforce this order and bring in the lingering lords. Even though the hierarchy of strength is very clear and no rational lord in the Citadel dares to disobey a noble demon's orders, there are many berserkers that were in the middle of training sessions or have lost their temper for various reasons. A handful of fights have broken out across the Citadel. To combat this, Cisco does not release his aura, nor bring himself down to the status of lowly first-class lords to take control of them. Instead, he watches with a straight face from the top of his tower, messaging 2 first-class demons that do his bidding to come out of their peaceful resting chambers. One has 2 long red horns, while the other has a single black horn. Both of them stand nearly 10 meters tall, and both they and their dragons put out such a calm and domineering aura that if they were present on the Ellipsia Citadel, even the warlords would question if they were nobles or not. Cisco doesn't even turn around when they enter his room through the back door. He just takes a deep breath in and out. This is what we get for letting those insects roam freely in this realm. We should have turned every last berserker into servants once we took Ellipsia. The white-horned noble demon scans the citadel and shares the data instantaneously with his 2 trusted guards. Bring them all in for questioning. Separate cells, and don't neutralize their power or suppress their avatars. I need to see each one of them at their full strength. The Scarlet Clan is good at hiding. A green and white glimmer shows in Cisco's eyes, and his horns start to vibrate as he whispers under his breath. Though, not good enough. I caught one before I came up to the green zone. I know what to look for. Both of the first-class demons resonate with their Citadel Lord as the blood flowing through their veins wants to unseal instinctively when Cisco's horns vibrate. However, they keep their composure and bow to his back. The massive door behind them opens automatically, and they turn to leave, but Cisco's voice rings out one more time. Oh, and once you're done, could you take a visit to Ellipsia? I do not have a direct contact line to Draco yet, and all of my messages to the first-class guards are not going through. Have them round up all of the berserkers for interrogation as well. They reply in unison, "It will be done," and the door shuts behind them. Cisco's horns vibrate with more intensity as he remembers the scarlet-red outline of a first-class monster that carried 2 long swords. This pushed him to his limits even while using his unsealed noble form long ago in the lower realm. While humiliating at first that a lesser race took him so long to defeat, it was an event in his past that opened his eyes to the potential of what system users can become. In fact, it was the catalyst that awakened his path to becoming a high noble where many other demons stagnate. Chapter 8:14. Hours pass as we walk through the last few remaining biomes. There is an icy frozen lake biome, and 2 mountainous regions with mostly second-class unintelligent elemental beasts in our way. Between the 2 final regions, there is a final safe zone where the other demonic servants earlier mentioned it to be a good place for us to stop and get express crown cycles, but our Berserker admin speaks up through the link as we pass it. We can register your fake crown cycles here. I have an admin override feature. It will only be manually reviewed after every arena event during the downtime week after.
Enod, God.
We soon go back to our prior conversation about the arena events he participated in the past, and what I can expect going in. But each one is extremely different. I get a sense there is not much of a point in trying to prepare. Though, this casual conversation about leaking Citadel secrets, and the small pings in our ears simulating a crown cycle confirmation despite nothing changing on our avatars, puts the shivering elf to my left side at some ease. Oddly, the undertones of anger, fear, and confusion about the situation we're in start to fade away the longer we walk. With the presence of an admin in our vicinity, not a single wild monster has attacked us this whole time, and not a single one does as we approach a massive shimmering mirror-like wall. I couldn't see it from a distance, as it just looked like more of this mountain biome was coming into view indefinitely. However, on my minimap I see that this biome ends right in front of me less than 10 meters away. It feels extremely powerful, and with my limited perception, I can't separate every single ether command holding this structure together. It feels just like the final layer of surveillance commands outside the Citadel I felt when Ava and I were using a fast travel orb coming here. Walk through once you're ready. You're going to be registered as admin-selected entries, so you won't have the freedoms of a normal citizen. Without hesitation, I walk forward and take a few steps before feeling Ren watch my back, then trail behind me. Ava crosses her arms and walks beside me too, and the 3 of us walk through the shimmering barrier with no resistance, as though it's only air, just like a black zone. Arena entry number 0182754041 confirmed, is all that rings in my inner ear at first. Then tens of thousands of new pop-ups fill my vision. Behind this great wall, I'm immediately struck with the presence of endless massive skyscrapers that make the Ellipsia Citadel pale in comparison. My head cranes upward, and I can't even see the top, nor can I see how far back the towers go. There are thousands of paths to take, with messages reading different races, factions, trading options, and timers for all kinds of events counting down. Though only one lights up with a bright white line in my vision, like a hologram connected to my shell of an avatar. The more I look around, I begin to see other lords too, using fast travel orbs and going about their daily lives. It's like we've stepped right into the busiest high-class district of Ellipsia, but it goes on endlessly rather than just a few blocks. Another strange phenomena I see is that 1 out of every 2 lords flying about are demonic servant avatars, and every single other lord in this place has bright crowns above their heads still connected to the Grand Citadel system like the wilderness outside. I can't tell if it is just the area we're in, but I do not see any lords here beneath 3rd class. The majority are 2nd, and a very large amount of the 1st class are all demonic servants. The admin walks through the shimmering border behind us and points right in the direction where the holographic line in my vision points us, deep into the city farther than I can see. This way. I'll bring you to the arena now to have you checked in. A fast travel orb is purchased, and it surrounds all 4 of us, moving almost immediately at an extremely fast pace. We fly past massive buildings, and I mentally block out the hundreds of thousands of notifications popping up around me every second that passes. Though, as the green flashes of light pass by around us, I do remember the small hologram the entry point admin showed me before we entered the Citadel, and if those metrics were correct, this massive city in the center of the wilderness is over 250,000 kilometers across. It is enormous, far beyond anything I can see fully in my sealed ordinary human form. My initial mission to find the center of the Citadel with Ava and get a proper scan is getting closer and closer to finished every second we move forward. But at the same time, there are far more variables stacking up and an additional white-haired mystery standing next to me that I wasn't expecting to meet just days ago. A ping in my inner ear from Ember as we zip past another skyscraper makes things even more complicated. Just minutes ago, Ember opened up the top of the High Orc Tower and borrowed a conceal skill while triggering advanced ether commands to hide his presence, while flooding the outer layers of his body with dense demonic energy. He flies to the central tower at extreme speeds and opens it from the top to enter the small portion of the tower that is not in use by the generals right now. Well, this is going to be interesting. He whispers under his breath while activating his hybrid form and hiding his tail and wings beneath strong ether commands, shifting his face and horns to that of the demon said to be the new lord of the Citadel. Ember does not have noble vibrations to send out, but a natural aura of intimidation and release of demonic soul energy control is enough to make the large open room at the top of the Citadel feel as though an entity greater than a mere first-class lord lives here. Just moments later, two figures in fast travel orbs arrive in front of the center tower, and Ember wastes no time in opening up two entry points to allow them in. The white orbs dissolve, and a first-class red-horned demon looks around the room, unfazed by the strong aura coming off of Ember. Eco Vermilion, a pleasure to meet you. He bows, and the black-horned demon speaks next. Rain Vermilion, we have heard much of your strength. A pleasure to see you face to face as well. This demon bows too. Then both even fall to one knee. Ember's gaze tightens, going through many possibilities of what this meeting could be about, as he recognizes these two demons from his scans just a day ago. You may rise, Draco Vermilion, new noble demon of the fifth great family. I presume you come from the Mensa Citadel. What is the reason for your visit? Neither of the demons raise their heads for a few more seconds out of respect. Then they both stand slowly, and the red-horned demon speaks. Well, first and foremost, we wanted to welcome a new member of the Vermilion family to the Upper Realm. It has been almost 700 years since our last edition. The demon smiles, not mentioning the fact that a demon was killed in this very building upon their new family member's entry. But Ember knows this is not the actual reason for their arrival. It is just niceties that a lower-class member of their family must follow out. He lets out more of his demonic soul energy, being produced within his body by combining low-quality ether and pure demonic energy on the spot to create a powerful aura that grows in intensity. The black-horned demon's eyes widen, and he accidentally lets out a surprised inhale. It hasn't even been a full month since Draco arrived, and he's already absorbed and assimilated this much ether. Real nobles are truly on another level of talent than us. He thinks inwardly, as the more sociable red-horned demon speaks again in a slower, more cautious tone. Our Citadel Lord has suspicions that a traitor is among us. Ember's thoughts run faster inside his head again, but he shows no sign of change on the outside, letting the demon before him do the talking. We attempted reaching out to your guards, but there was no response. An instant link between avatars has not been set up yet. So our Lord sent us here directly to deliver the news. A Berserker giant race has been found in the lower realm interfering with our business. It all seems to be linked to an old enemy of our Citadel Lord, a wyvern, actually, if you are curious. The red-horned demon bows again out of respect. We do not wish to trouble you with problems of an old war that occurred here before your time. We only request access to your live surveillance system, and permission to temporarily hold all present Berserker giants on the Citadel for an interrogation once our Lord is finished in the Mensa Citadel. The demon does not lift his head from the bow, and Ember is slightly surprised from this response. He does not sense any emotional fluctuations that would show that he is lying, but it's possible that Cisco Vermilion is keeping the full truth from them. Whatever the case may be, Ember replies, "Very well. If that is all you need, I'd be happy to accommodate you." He turns around, lifting a hand to give them a casual motion to follow, then walks into the limited rooms left at the top of this tower. He sends a mental telepathy message to the Rising Emperor, still sharing his visuals of the live interaction taking place with these visiting demons. Jay, they may know more than you think. Be ready for anything in the Grand Citadel. Chapter 8:15. Ember's ominous warning, paired with the appearance of new demons in the Ellipsia Citadel, keeps my mind sharp as we zip through the endless inner city of the Grand Citadel. I remember the time it took to travel a few dozen blocks that span tens of thousands of kilometers across Ellipsia, but we're just flying deeper and deeper, clearing this length multiple times without any change in sight or signs of stopping. Even looking up, it's like there is no sky, only more towers and other fast travel orbs zipping about with high-class lords carrying out business and demonic servants guarding every shop and conducting business of their own. There must be tens of millions, maybe even hundreds of millions of lords here. This citadel is beyond enormous. It is a very ominous environment, and Ember's words, along with the admin that is guiding us, echo in my mind. I really don't have any idea what happens here in the Grand Citadel. Minutes pass, and so do hundreds of towers, before the landscape starts to change slightly. Instead of just the countless ether commands and rectangular structures on the horizon, I begin to see something plain green, like pure divine threads making a wall. The closer we get, the fewer buildings take up the skyline, and the more this bright green light takes up the sky and entire horizon in front of me. Eventually, little to no buildings are left, and all that's between this green mass and our orb are countless single-file lines of other white ether orbs. We come to a stop behind an orb with a single demonic servant in it and a large second-class wild mutated bear-like monster in similar restraints to ours. There are hundreds of other similar orbs in front of them. To my left and right, I can't make out how many more of these lines there are, but they are separated by a few kilometers each, coming out from every crack, crevice, and plausible fast travel orb pathway from all around the city. My perception of these lines curves, making it clear that this incredibly massive green mass in front of us is circular. Even though I can't see its top, my instincts and the flow of ether strands I see tell me it's an incredibly massive dome. We all stay silent as the line moves forward, and more ether orbs start to line up behind us, keeping the line pretty long even though we're moving forward at a quick pace. Reason for traveling to the arena: one of the two first-class demonic servants that stand in front of the green barrier states. Our admin responds, 3 admin selected entries, and I'd like to place my bets for this month's event. The servant that didn't speak taps an invisible panel in front of him, and ether commands connect to our fast travel orb, allowing our admin to send 30,000 low-quality ether through the link instantaneously. Strands of ether flow up from the bottom of my avatar, and the entry ticket I received when entering this inner city is connected to a new set of commands. The same happens for Ava and Rin. The guard comments with a smirk, "All right, they're registered. Max bets on 3 sub-second-class entries? Not every day we see a triple-ranked-up goblin. But what's so special about the humans?" His partner shakes his head and opens up a small circular opening in the green barrier behind them. "It does not matter, we are impartial. Make comments like that when your shift is finished. Right?" He nods, taking note of the odd entry, then looks forward to greet the next fast travel orb that holds a demonic servant and a massive tusk seal creature held down with similar restraints that are on our wrists but wrapped around its tail and neck. The green barrier closes behind us, and a telepathy message from the admin echoes through. "We're in. There is no going back now. Once I leave you here, you'll be entering the tournament whether you like it or not." I grin, feeling the fast travel orb bend its flight path downward. That is exactly what I came here for. We're sent flying through a dark corridor, and it's actually far more calming because, unlike outside, there are no constant flashing ether commands and options flying into my consciousness. However, the fact that we're moving kilometers below ground now makes me think about the wolfmen that are still far below the citadel, even days later. It should be a simple procedure just to collect refined ether if my hypothesis is correct, but there seems to be something quite different going on. These thoughts fade once our downward motion slows and we start to move forward again. In front of me, I see the corridor we're in split into 2 paths, and in front of it, another demonic servant stands, waiting for us to come to a halt in front of him. He looks like he's reading something, then nods, tapping on his ether commands before him, and 2 new empty fast travel orbs form. "Your entries are registered. The goblin in one, throw the 2 humans in the other. Then you can leave back to your wilderness post," he says, looking toward the other pathway, then back to us. All three orbs connect and we walk inside, doing as instructed, and I hear a mental link form behind myself and the admin one more time as our new ether orbs start to move away from each other down different paths. Best of luck. I will keep you updated on the tasks you've given to me. I mentally nod and stare forward as we're brought even deeper into this strange underground portion of the Citadel. The walls start to change from their basic dark black and green, and start showing more white ether commands the further in we get. With no sense of air resistance or a moving minimap in my mind, it's hard to tell how fast or far we're really traveling, but my assumption is thousands of kilometers again. Ava's fast travel orb veers off in another direction once we're hit with a crossroads after a few minutes, but our mental link still stays strong, and a spectate feature is shared between us, so it feels like we're still beside each other. Less than 5 minutes later, both of our fast travel orbs come to a halt, and the sides of the corridors we're in open wide like cell doors, and we're sent flying inside while the orbs of light around us fade away. I see Ava thrown into a massive black room, and the door closes behind her to be left in silence. I have a natural geolocation linked to her, and can tell we're not very far away, about 50 kilometers away at most. Ren and I are tossed into a similar environment, but my ether senses are active here, and through the darkness, I make out the large outlines of hundreds of first and second class monsters all around. They too have restraints on their arms, legs, necks, and mouths. Some appear to have a glint of intelligence in their eyes, while others look like raging beasts ready to tear anything and everything to pieces the moment they get out of their restraints. The door behind us closes, and as I stand to my feet and look over to run, the white-haired lord looks up at me with a docile and innocent look in their eyes, speaking in a confused and soft voice, nothing like the angry elf that threatened to kill me just a few hours ago in the Black Sand Desert. Where are we? And how did we get here? What are we wearing? Not a drop of fear or anxiety comes off the lord. They just look me up and down, blinking a few times, then throwing a wondering gaze around all of the monsters in this cell with us. The massive room is dark, so only their outlines and some of their glowing eyes can be seen. Massive earth golems, fiery lizards, serpents, mutated orcs and ogres, yetis, and plenty of outlines from vicious monsters I've never seen before. Though, their bright single and double crowns certainly are of great contrast to the 5 floating above mine and Ren's head. Some of the intelligent lords let out loud laughs, and a few mock us with whispers. 5th-class lords. This must be some kind of joke. What admin would waste their entries on humans? Just ignore them, we'll kill them for points in the first round. Even more dismissive grunts and laughter follow as Ren and I walk through the beasts to find a back wall of the cell. I put a hand on their shoulder to reply, far more interested in the words that were just uttered over any insults from random captured monsters down here. What do you mean? Where are we? You were here with us the whole way down. What are you talking about? Run looks back up at me with bright white eyes, and we stop once making it to the nearest wall to the far back side of the room, and a telepathy voice comes back. Oh, you were talking to that one again. Well, if they agreed to being here, it must be for the best. No change on the uninterested and docile face of this elf is shown, but my mind feels as though it's being played with from these words. However, before I can reply through our link again, my purple ring vibrates, and a new set of memories from the past flood into my consciousness. Chapter 8:16. The same memories from our last contact, that of a dragon's crimson eye from a battle that took place over the Grand Citadel floods right back into my mind, but it quickly fades away, and the flashes of scenes get even grainier and harder to make out. Time is moving backward in these memories even further and faster. Tens of thousands of years pass every second that it feels like I'm watching, and there are even large gaps of time missing. Before I know it, the perspective of these memories isn't even in the Grand Citadel anymore, though it is in the green zone of the upper realm, looking down on multiple massive citadels I've never seen before. Hundreds of colorful wyverns fly through the green clouds all around, high and low, and all kinds of familiar intelligent races like orcs, ogres, beastmen of all kinds, kobolds, serpents, enormous insects, and berserkers are living and prospering together, using fast travel technology to and from these many active citadels. The longer these memories go on, I do recognize one. It is a massive conglomeration of storage units and ether commands. It looks ancient, even seeing it in the memories here. I recall seeing a similar scan of a citadel linked to Ellipsia. It was called the Fortress. Though I don't get to admire this memory for long, as even more time passes in jumbled, blurred parts, and more chunks of time are completely lost to dark blotches. It feels like the grasp on these memories from hundreds of thousands of years ago is nearly lost. I'm hardly even picking up shadows and vague outlines now, but I still haven't been ejected from this elf's mind, so there must be something more, so I keep waiting patiently. Eventually, this moment of picture-perfect clarity hits me like a cold ocean wave. I see through this elf's eyes, on a beautiful world filled with lush trees with pink fruits that look similar to peaches full of dense mana and chi. They are looking over a large cliffside, into a deep valley, and a familiar black tower juts out from the forest, making me realize these are memories from the lower realm. When exactly, I have no idea, but the fact that when these eyes that guide this memory move, and I see other elves with white hair and white eyes running around the woods, it makes me question my knowledge of elves even further. Demons appear out from large rifts beneath the tower, many with red, orange, and yellow cores, and they yell out, "In the name of the vanguards, this world is ours. Any that wish to challenge our power, show yourselves now." Out from the dense forest around the throne, dark figures carrying throwing knives and bows attack. They use dark portals that teleport their arrows and knives all over the battlefield, attacking without warning or remorse. Dark-skinned elves wielding dark magic and holding true cores in their chests attack the demonic forces, taking out a large portion of their army in seconds. However, two noble demons don't waste any time unsealing their bloodlines upon seeing this massacre of their knights and commanders, and completely change the tide of battle, bringing thousands of elves to their knees with the aura alone. One of the dark archers is left standing and challenges a noble demon one-on-one. But the other demon just laughs as no one else is strong enough to challenge him and starts slaughtering the natives. Ren watches from a high cliffside as it looks like their whole homeworld will be taken over by these demons. What Celia said was true. They really did come after us, is whispered in a soft tone, but Ren's hands glow white with light magic, staying to watch the battle while all of the other light elves run for their lives. A massive array of yellow divine threads and light magic, using an inheritance artifact, surrounds the whole battlefield and begins to manipulate what is seen in front of the demons. Many of the second and first-class demons are blindsided, and the dark elves can take out the commanders and weaker generals with true cores thanks to these efforts, but the two noble demons are on a whole higher level. The single dark archer can hold off one noble, because he was chosen to hold an inheritance artifact from their elders, and holds small amounts of noble blood. Will our final world really be taken in this manner? Ren whispers, watching the other noble demon tear through more elves, negating all of the help done from this array. It even sets its sights on their dark archer, getting ready to team up on him and finish this battle before they destroy this world, as large cracks are already breaking through the surrounding mountains from their auras alone. However, its dragon swoops in just before a curved soul sword can destroy this archer's bow and crush his divine core. The same crimson eye stares through the chaos at Ren, and bright translucent flames pour out from its mouth, killing two noble demons at once. This dragon flies upward with the shockwave of two saturated true cores exploding behind it, straight in Ren's direction. Its soul bond sharing life force with one of the noble demons activates, and the black dragon's body begins to deteriorate in real time. It betrayed their forces without hesitation, even at the result of its own death. It looks like the dragon is about to speak, but the memory flashes white and comes to an abrupt halt before any words come out. My eyes open wide as I inhale, and my train of thought returns to the dark cell. The ring on my finger is burning hot again, and my inner ear is almost giving me a headache from all the ringing. I want to ask a million questions, but just as I'm about to, Ren passes out from the intensity and slumps backward into a sitting position against the wall. I dive down to put my hand behind their head before it hits anything hard, but I'm more confused and full of shock than entirely concerned for this lord's health. More of my questions are actually targeted toward this dragon that keeps interfering with the past. At the same time, This very dragon welcomes 2 demons into the surveillance room of the Ellipsia Citadel. Please, use whatever tools are necessary. A large holographic panel lights up the back wall of the room and shows red dots on a map of the Citadel, pinpointing every single Berserker Giant's location. The High Orc Tower on this map has been completely blocked out by Ember's advanced ether commands, and the 2 demons that stand before the hologram and search through it, making copies, do not suspect a thing. Do you mind if we pause Citadel fast travel and long-range communication for a few hours? Eco Vermilion asks. Ember clasps his hands together. Be my guest. There is nothing to hide. The Citadel is mostly exactly how Andrus left it. They both bow respectfully while shutting off the ability to leave the Citadel with a single flick of a finger. Then Rain Vermilion comments again, looking toward a wall to his right side. The 2 first-class guards that assist you here, are they doing all right? I heard there was a dueling incident with the warlords before you killed them. Ember nods slowly, knowing full well he and Torvak were the ones that put them in this position to begin with, melting those arrogant first-class demons' brains beyond repair without killing them. Yes, they are still being treated. Hopefully the recovery will be finished soon. Maybe after meeting the family head I can request a pair of new guards if not. It could be requested. I believe there are a few first-class left in the Grand Citadel and Fortress. Though, if you'd like for me to take a look at them, I have a greater demonic regenerative bloodline than the standard automated systems here. An injection may speed up their recovery. Ember inwardly raises an eyebrow, knowing that the 2 entities behind that door are actually not demons, but the rising Emperor's body doubles in a resting state. The brain-dead demons and their dragons are on the other side of this hall, a few kilometers away, but it will not be difficult to swap their room's contents with simple Citadel commands. Ember nods. Yes, if you'd like to before leaving with the Berserkers, that would be great. Eco turns from his panel after copying the last of the data. Leaving with them? Ember shrugs. Yes, why not? I'll pay for the fast travel transport. It would be much safer to send them over to Mensa for your lord to interrogate there. Wouldn't it? Leaving a Citadel unguarded may be exactly what they want. Both of the first-class demons look to each other with widened eyes, as though they didn't think of such a possible gaping hole in their defense strategy, and reply in unison, Yes, I think that would be ideal. Ember smiles and opens a door with a swift hand movement. Excellent. Chapter 8:17. I watch Ren slump down unconscious against the black wall of the cell, and every moment I make contact, the loud ringing in my ear gets more extreme. The sensation of hot energy building up inside my body begins to make itself known once I pull my hand away again, and I whisper to myself, It's happening already? It isn't much and really only feels mildly warm, but I recognize this feeling from when I was using the suppression technique Seraphel taught me while training in Ellipsia and beneath the Sea of Corruption. I knew these seals I placed on myself weren't going to be permanent, and they sure are holding back my vibrations better than spending all of my mental power on a suppression technique. But I thought I would have much more time. The first seal is already starting to grow unstable. I look down at my hand and feel the purple ring on my finger settle back into its natural state. But my eyes stay wide as I remember Celia's name spoken in the memories I just absorbed. The human is already down for the count. That 5th class passed out from the site of US. We should just take them out now. The arena is an honorable event. Only the strong should compete. My inner thoughts are being crowded by the smug grunts, comments, and laughter from the stronger lords in this prison cell. Heavy footsteps coming my way fill my ears next, and I turn my head around to see a creature at least 12 meters tall, with dark blue fur, and heavy feet and hands with black claws. It looks like some kind of humanoid snow leopard, but its legs and arms are both chained with the same restraints as me. The only difference is the enormous size, and a bright white crown rotating above its head as a low growl comes from its mouth. Yeah, leave it to me. I'll take them out to keep this event exciting for the real fighters. I let out a sigh and activate my light magic. With the 2 admin override commands active and these suppression cuffs on, technically, even if I tried for days at a time, I shouldn't be able to activate more than a weak aura. However, I simulate the activation of thousands of ether commands and my light magic skill, and create an illusion in front of my own eyes to glow bright red like fire. At the same time, a wave of mana control ripples out from my body, but I keep it all beneath my purple barrier that rests beneath my fake avatar shell. You still have enough mana to do a trick like that? These admins must have gone soft, letting a weakling like you in and not even having to suppress your power. The massive beast grunts out while lifting one of its clawed feet in the air above my head. He laughs, knowing that even though his power is suppressed, our size and weight difference is undeniable. A normal human can't defend against brute force of magnitude even with some of their power unsealed. I lift my bound hands upward as others in the cell watch and chuckle to themselves, and brace for impact, stopping the bottom of the monster's foot before it crushes both myself and ran into the floor. Upon contact, however, I let the force from the attack help me tear my fingers through the layers of ether commands and flesh in the bottom of the monster's foot, and once at its most vulnerable point, I let out a shockwave of my unconstrained mana control. Not in a friendly manner either. I let it out to shock every pathway left in this monster's body, freezing it like it's been electrocuted with a blank mind. I jump upward, through the creature's foot as though it's made of frail glass, and come eye to eye with the beast before spinning my body one time and sending its head flying off its shoulders with a single kick. On the way down, I kick its chest with my other foot and watch the body fall backward. Then look up at all of the other lords that were ready to watch a pair of weak humans get crushed to death. Anyone else have a problem with us taking part in the arena? Residue from my mana control leaks out from the fractured body of this monster, and it acts as natural intimidation rippling through the room, making a few of the weaker second-class lords fall over unconscious or become queasy. Gulps and nervous shuffling fill the silence, but everyone turns away without saying a word, and I let my glowing red eyes dim back to normal. That's what I thought. Now, if there are any new lords that come in here before the event starts that have a problem with humans joining, tell them I'm busy concentrating, so don't disturb me. I then turn around and walk a few steps to sit right down next to the unconscious elf, and get to work on what I really came here for. I place both hands down on the cool floor of the cell and start feeling out the security system in this room. There is no rush, so I'm going to be as careful as possible, and begin sending small ether commands down into the Citadel without being noticed. I'm as close to the core as I can get, so now it's time to get to work. I smirk, sending in my first test command while watching the massive corpse of a first-class lord dissolve into thin air in front of me, leaving only the dark black chained restraints on the cold floor. Over 2 full days pass. During this time, the green zone of the upper realm remains calm, yet tense, as every lord in power knows that something big is happening. But no one has all of the information to understand exactly what. Ember successfully hides the presence of the warlords on the Citadel, most importantly Zacian, and purchases tens of thousands of fast travel orbs to Mensa in order to keep the noble demon lord from visiting before the time is right. While the 2 first-class demons were no ordinary guards, Ember even felt the presence of noble's blood in their veins, clearly the result of experimentation from the Citadel Lord on Mensa, though they aren't true nobles and were easily outsmarted by this dragon. The rising Emperor's body doubles have been hidden, the 2 injured demons were checked on without any suspicion, and even the general's cultivation in the tower below has been kept under wraps. While the rising Emperor used many stealth skills, and advanced ether commands aided in the full astral noble human form to create the structure, and no hint of aura is leaking out, it is still not possible for anyone to enter. This problem is solved by a pattern of demonic servants coming and going from the central tower, and other smaller surveillance buildings on the Citadel to create the illusion that business as usual is going on here. The ordinary citizens are questioned in passing by the 2 visiting demons, but they are just as in the dark about the takeover by Draco as everyone else. Ember waves them off with a smile on his face and receives a thank you report back from Cisco Vermilion himself with a holographic recording, and all of the Berserkers' return ether orbs can be seen flying back toward the Citadel. During this process, Ember spent most of his time gently floating around the outer ring of Ellipsia, and continuously keeping an eye on the generals that continue to ascend. They've all begun using a full 4% of stats each, mainly to concentrate the usage on their new availability to the Divine Grade Self-Regeneration skill. Raven is at floor 779, effortlessly moving in between her normal state and her stealth dimension, with a burning green divine core in her chest. She's able to withstand full seconds outside of her pocket dimension even at this floor, where the density of divine threads and gravity is many times higher than what it is outside. The scarlet aura that was helping her in her swords has been almost entirely used up. This is because the soul that held this path has died, but it had a last mission to assist Raven in creating her own. A dull hum echoes through each room she transfers up into, and vibrations ripple out from her that feel very similar to the Scarlet Clan's, but with a much different intensity about them. Her achieving this feat while dipping in and out of a stealth dimension has mutated this path to become her own. The gleam in her hazel eyes once she feels the growth potential in this new ability she's grasped fans the spark of excitement in her soul to become a growing fire. Ari sits still in the lotus position on floor 801, glowing white and purple, with his spirit hands filling the entire room to drain all of the ether-infused demonic soul energy inside it to make it his own. His green true core is fully assimilated as well, but his greater form has made his entire body saturated with this purple soul energy, making the use of a shared self-regeneration skill less necessary, as he's adapting and creating his own version of demonic regeneration. His dark bow vibrates with an aura similar to the reaction happening with Raven's blades. He can feel his true body tingle and vibrate, and in moments of total concentration, the flashes of visions from this bow wielder's past burst into his mind. It is not in the dead skeletal body of a lich that he fought, but a shadowy dark-skinned elven archer. Techniques on how to use his bow with more efficiency flow into his mind. With it, thousands of years of instinctual understanding on how to cultivate an ancient dark elven bloodline path used for fighting off nobles is added to his consciousness like second nature. Maria is in a flow state of her own, floating in the center of floor 919. Her greater angelic form is glistening with rainbow-reflecting light as her soul sword slowly spins around her. She uses the divine grade self-regeneration skill to its maximum potential. In a single thought, Maria can drain a room of ether, mana, and divine threads into her soul energy core. At first, on the lower floors, this is what she did in order to saturate her green divine core, but now she actually has to manually limit the amount of energy she's taking in order to give her physical body more time under tension to adapt to the pressure. While fragments of source resin flow through her greater form and hold her cells together, they only allow her to exist in this state. Despite the pristine, ethereal, and majestic angel that looks as though it floats in a calm state in the center of the room, for the last few days, Maria has felt as though every cell in her body, drop of blood in her veins, and bit of moisture in her flesh has been lit on fire and grown back millions of times. Instead of just cycling through the divine threads just for training and only absorbing the soul energy in their body like everyone else, she's actually draining and consuming every single bit of energy in each room. The state of each room after she leaves them are as empty as floor 1. The other generals leave large amounts of divine threads behind, as intended. There are thousands of times more divine threads than necessary inside this tower. It is supposed to be used to adapt to the pressure. Clearly, Maria has grander plans. The excruciating pain she withstands is magnitudes above what the other generals are going through at the moment. She could take things easy and only consume what she needs, but when she arrived to the upper realm and laid her eyes on the rising emperor for the first time since the war in the Dark Continent, so much more changed than she ever imagined. There may have been 3 seals holding back the true power of the man she laid eyes on, but Maria understood the gap in strength had somehow widened again despite her massive efforts on Kelfer. Now, with less than a day remaining before their plan to strike happens, she's determined to close that gap by any means necessary. "I can't be left behind," she whispers to herself while clearing the floor and teleporting to the 920th. Abby, on the other hand, has actually decided to slow down her assimilation process, and sits on the 907th floor with a peaceful expression on her face. The only thing she gains from each one is more ether and mana control gains from the resources on every floor. After the first few days in this tower, the overwhelming memories and knowledge of the Wyvern race also slowed down, and once she fully adapted to this upper realm's pressure, the urgency of the Amplifier soul weapon in her grasp stopped producing so many blinking glyphs and vibrant flashbacks. She calmly sits in her room, thinking, so, Seraphel is the only one left. Unfortunate, but not all is lost. Maybe our goals align. Chapter 8:18. All four are unique. This is good for now, but could get troublesome. Ember thinks to himself while analyzing the general's auras, but he does not have a pleased look on his face. Ember is calculating what his next move should be, and trying to conceptualize every piece moving in the upper realm right now. With his close call with the demons that arrived here 2 days prior, he's both relieved that nothing came of it before everyone was ready, but also on edge. He knows that Cisco Vermilion is no pushover, and the fact that no results came back from his questioning of all the berserkers here on Ellipsia and over on Mensa means they will either tear the Grand Citadel apart to find their mark, or this demon is already steps ahead and the polite gesture of sending in first-class demons is just to toy with him. It's hard to tell who knows what after being away for so long again, especially when I didn't climb the demon's ranks from the lower realm. Ember thinks, then activates his perception technique again, making his eyes glow silver to let out a pulse of invisible radiation outward. The first thing he senses are Torvak and Asik finally leaving this tower with precious cargo, carrying over 8,000 premium-grade avatar shells that need to be fitted to the correct specs for the demonic servants that the rising emperor promised new bodies to. They had almost everything done. But the 2-day wait while the citadel was locked down and first-class demons were wandering about put a small pause on the operation. Many second- and third-class ogres and orcs are helping with the installment and assimilation process in the old headquarters where illegal exile contract business was carried out. What Ember senses next, much further out than just the citadel level, was already expected too, as he felt them leave the fortress over a full day ago. It is a dark shadowy army slowly soaring through the green skies with no fast travel orbs, as they are not linked to any citadel systems. There are hundreds of them, some with horns, some with long wings, but they are so close together, and let out a dense demonic aura, that it just appears to be a citadel-sized cloud of dark energy soaring in the direction of the Sea of Corruption, where Seraphel still lies. Ember's technique scans the Mensa Citadel as well, but he catches the noble lord there on a holographic call with another familiar face, Muriel Vermilion. This technique at such long range only gives him a small snippet of time to perceive things, and it begins to fade away the moment it makes contact. Though, he can make out a few words from the royal family head before his silver vision fades. The arena events will be starting soon. I've invited Draco to come and participate, so any suspicions you have will be dealt with. You finish your job with the Wyvern. I'll deal with the new blood personally. Ember looks up at the ceiling of the high orc tower he's standing in, looking over to Zacian, whose bright red aura has been growing in luminosity for days, watching his eyes slowly start to open. It's about time you woke up. During this time that has passed, I've been sitting in the same position on the cold, hard, and dark cell floor beneath the Grand Citadel. Periodically, the entrance that I came in through would open up, and new second and first-class lords are tossed in. The general tension in the room, and sight of massive hand and leg cuffs resting in front of 2 sleeping humans with avatar remains scattered on the floor at the back of the room is enough to keep many beasts away. Some of the unintelligent monsters thrown in here are handled by the stronger first-class lords to stay away from me, as they do not want to get on the wrong side of my kick like the example I made of the Snow Leopard Lord. While the 2 kicks that decapitated and crushed the core of this lord were not necessarily strong, possibly nearing the 3rd or 2nd class lord's natural strength, everyone here has their stats and ether defense commands suppressed. They only fear me because they don't have their full power, and that is fine to me for now. All I'm focused on is the millions of ether commands I've cautiously and meticulously let slip through the cold black cell ground and seep into the citadel around me. With Ava in a cell about 50 kilometers away, and the admin I've created a link of loyalty with returned to his post on the outer wall of the citadel, I have clear vantage points to how deep and far I need to push my perception. In the calm silence of this room, with my eyes closed, I can feel the thousands of massive cells like this at a similar altitude underneath the green dome. There are tons of tunnels and pathways, with smaller rooms in between all of them where demonic servants work surveillance and ether command repair and management. Above us, oddly enough, the massive dome, spanning around 40,000 kilometers in diameter, has nothing but dense divine threads, mana, and ether commands closely packed together. At first, when I felt it and tried digging my way around the ether commands, it made no sense. The commands were so random and jumbled and seemingly pointless. However, when I sat for longer, and let my tendrils of ether commands soak outward further, past the massive inner city, and set my sights on the wilderness itself, this smaller dome's purpose became much more clear. The wilderness itself is all a complete facade. Just like the construct Celia created back on the human world, everything looked and felt extremely real, but as I inspect how it's created from the inside, it's all just advanced holograms, with elemental magic and divine energy imbued into every structure to make them interact with avatar holders as if the environment is real. My ether commands brush through many massive towers full of hundreds of thousands of demonic servants each, all hard at work, designing and creating biomes to swap out with ones that have been used up and destroyed in massacres or massive black zone events. The same technology is being used for whatever is beneath this dome, as the arena events are unpredictable and different every month because they are created on the spot. While my curiosity is piqued here and information about the Citadel itself is very interesting to me, I could have made educated guesses to figure this out prior to my scans, just not with such intricate detail. The real mystery still lies in every one of the safe zones within the wilderness. I try to gain more information by lightly sending commands to these regions, but at this distance, I can't do much more than very simple scanning and analysis commands. The crown cycle structures are too well guarded, and it feels like I'm trying to look through an unbreakable black box. Every time I try to look through, the strange cold sensation I had with my meeting with Muriel Vermilion returns, so I look elsewhere. After all, I know where these rooms lead, and it's beneath me. In addition to outward, I send strands of ether commands down deep underground. Below, it feels as though there is only solid black material, similar to what the ether stones beneath Ellipsia were made of, but in a dense solid form. It takes hours and hours of concentrated effort to push through, without triggering any of the automated surveillance commands. If I didn't know that the Wolfman's trackers were brought over 100,000 kilometers beneath the surface, I would have no confidence that there was anything at all down here. The further down I send my tendrils of ether, the denser this black bedrock-like mass becomes. There are small pathways with less resistance, but for the most part one have to use a large amount of mental and even physical power to push further down. My body becomes covered in sweat, and I can physically feel pressure from my noble vibrations building up behind my first seal, as extra energy from this is necessary to move further down. Though the pain and effort is worth it. After these days of long effort, I finally feel a breaking point and make it to the other side. A rush of information comes into my mind, and the memories of endless massive black skyscrapers that I remember in Andres Vermilion's and the demonic guardian Cyclope's minds link up exactly to what I see. There is an entire massive city on the underside of the Citadel, like I'm staring at a mirrored version of the inner city above. The only difference is a central tower that projects so far downward, deep below the depth I ever traveled down in the exile zones. I can't even perceive where it leads down to. On top of this, there are no lords present in the streets, nor are there any ether commands or fast travel orbs active. It is desolate, empty, and silent. Everything is covered in dense surveillance protection, just like the crown cycle buildings. All I can manage to perceive is the outsides of these buildings. Feels jet black and cold, eerily cold, even making me physically shiver, perceiving it hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. In addition, from such a distance, what I'm seeing isn't crystal clear imagery. It is more shapes, shadows, and an instinctual feeling that pieces the visuals together. It strains me so much to keep these active, and with no additional information to find, I come to terms that this is as good of a scan of the Citadel as I'll get right now. Just as I retract my strands of ether, 3 notifications hit my consciousness at once. I open my eyes and stand to my feet out of surprise, and many of the lords in the room flinch at my fast movements, but I'm more focused on the first sound of a demon's voice from the lower realm hitting my mind for the first time in a while. My lord, Rising Emperor, this is Pluto Vermilion at your service. My offering was accepted. I have successfully gained a position as a temporary commander in one of the newest task forces. There will be an opportunity to rank up to a general after my first mission, a takeover of a star system named the Great Belt of Brimia. My heart races at the impact of the news from this update, but I can't ignore the second voice in my head, from the admin currently inside the wilderness. I've made contact with the wolfmen that have completed their crown cycles. As requested, they are being entered into the arena event, so you can meet them and collect the necessary data once they're inside. The third and most urgent notification is the one that comes from within my Grand Citadel avatar shell. Arena entry number 0182754041, selected to participate in Round 1. Prepare for transport. Chapter 819. Report this news to Bree immediately. The Great Belt of Brimia is an ally of ours. If they're sending more demonic troops out that far, it means somehow information leaked from that incident. Your updates will be very valuable. Understood, it will be done. After a few mental one-way messages to Bree and Alvaron, preparing them for what they're about to hear, I reply to the admin that notified me of his work, as I feel his presence leaving the inner city now, back toward his post. Good. The two wolfmen's presence is nearby, moving through the underground tunnels, but the geo-trackers on them are not as sensitive as the natural ones I have available through links of loyalty. In addition, they were very weakened during this crown cycle process, so all I know is they are in one of the cells nearby, less than 100 kilometers away. However, my immediate attention is on the fact that about 10% of the lords and unintelligent beasts in this room are blinking bright white. Myself and Ren included. I hear voices mumbling throughout the quiet room. Looks like it's finally starting. Ack. I was really demoted after losing so quickly last month. I'm really stuck in round 1. Those humans were selected too. I guess they were weak after all. A few heads turn back toward us, but they aren't the ones with blinking avatars. The other lords that were selected start to move toward the front of the room and begin making a semi-straight line to wait in front of the sealed cell door. About half a minute of random mumbling and anticipation follows. Then the door slides open, revealing a first-class demonic servant with bright white glowing hands. Its eyes scan the room, mentally calculating something, then triggering a few ether commands in the floor in front of him. Then he speaks, making his words echo through the minds of everyone in this room as though a telepathy skill is being used. All round 1 participants approach now for transport. This will be a solo event, but teaming is allowed. If you'd like to travel in groups up to 4, that will be permitted. A massive green lizard creature with stone-like skin takes a heavy step forward in front of the servant, and onto the white platform glowing beneath its feet. The demonic servant doesn't change its expression at all. It only moves its hands slightly, and a fast travel orb forms around the monster. Strands of ether move through the white translucent sphere and into its hand and ankle cuffs. A matter of seconds later, they blink white and fall to the floor at its feet. Then the servant steps aside, and instantly the orb of light is whisked away out of the room into the long and narrow hallway. A few more flashes of white light stream by, as other monsters from random cells are being sent off. Another monster with orange fur and black eyes walks up next, letting out a growl like a massive angry cat, and the same procedure starts again. I look back toward Ren, still completely unconscious after over 2 days, and try to shake them awake a few times. Even light telepathy messages in their ear, but I get no response. It's not like there are any injuries, or anything necessarily wrong with this elf's body that I can see. Although I can't see past the outer layer, all of the ether and divine energy flows look identical to before this incident. It seems like some shock response, or maybe a natural resting state for an elf race that I'm not aware of. I decide to pick Ren up and worry about what happened later. Carrying this frail lord like a baby in my arms, on top of my cuffed wrists, I walk forward and watch the line move by for a few more minutes before it's my turn. I don't say a word, and the demonic servant doesn't say anything back, or even look my way. The only thing that happens is a bright white flash of light surrounds us, and our black restraints are lifted, falling to the floor. All of the restrictions on my avatar shell are lifted, not that it really mattered. Moments later, the orb speeds off into the hall and begins moving fast through new corridors I haven't been to before. We fly through many crossroads and begin moving upward and outward, back toward the outer ring of this green dome. A few other white flashes come out from other cells in passing, but in less than a minute we arrive at another doorway and are thrown out as the ether orb disappears. The floor is bright white at first glance, and when I look to my left and right, the vague outline of other lords can be seen, but many kilometers away, and they're all very separated like me. I look forward and see the room go on for a few hundred meters, but the back wall is bright green. Then, I look side to side again and realize the back wall is ever so slightly curved. This is the outside of the dome. I whisper to myself, now mentally picturing this thick white platform wrapping its wall all the way around the inner dome. Behind me is a black wall, and above, it looks as though it goes on forever, open air, fading to a tight green tint. Quickly I link with Ava, but apparently, she was not selected to participate in this round. No additional notifications have pinged in my ear again, and from the amount of other lords being transported below us, I know not everyone is here yet. I shake Ren lightly again, but get no response. It feels unnatural to not have my hands free, so I toss Ren on my back and use small amounts of mana control and divine threads below my purple barrier to hold their arms and legs in place, locked around me. This will do. I whisper under my breath, trying to figure out what's going on by adding more mana to my eyes and boosting my perception to see further down this curved wall, but see hundreds, even thousands of other lords as equally confused. Then, many holographic screens begin popping up in front of every single lord on this outer ring. I turn my head back to in front of me, where a projection on the green wall begins to materialize. At the same time, thousands of ether commands push upward from the white floor and start seeping into my avatar's shell, as well as Ren's, and manipulating the crown configurations and standard settings. I let it happen, and watch carefully as a demonic servant appears on the screen, floating in open air, while below it, a 3D view of the green dome materializes. Around this dome, behind where the massive black wall behind me stands, the visuals of what looks like arena seating for tens, or even hundreds of millions of lords is shown. Small dots are visible in the stands, but it almost all looks empty to me. The visuals come back to focus on the demonic servant. Welcome to the Grand Citadel's monthly arena event. If you're tuning in now, the main fights will start in 6 to 10 hours. We'll be seeing a brand new addition to the Vermilion family's noble lineage tonight. So this is not an event you want to miss. The servant smiles and raises his hands, then points down at the green dome. For now, this messaging is mostly directed at our participants, and of course those that choose to come to the show early. Admins, I know you're watching, as we have had a large influx in new lords and beasts this month. Even our first round may have some exceptions that make it all the way to the main event. The visuals of this hologram turn away from the servant and begin flying around the dome, zooming in on the white ring that surrounds it entirely. Small dots turn into visuals of monsters and lords, all glowing white as their ether commands are updated. For all 107,852 of you that have been selected for round 1 of the preliminary tournament matches, please do allow me to explain the rules. My eyes widen at the amount of entries, but at the same time a light ding sounds off in my ears and the ether commands around me fade back into the floor. A glowing green number 1 appears above the 5 gray crowns rotating above my head as the demonic servant's voice continues to ring out. You have all been given 1 point to start with. In order to qualify for the main event, you must accumulate 1,000 points inside the dome. This very dome begins to shift colors, turning white, then becoming glossy like glass, and eventually turning into a mirror, exactly like the outside of a black zone. If you wish to forfeit before the 1-hour time limit is up, you may leave any time and teleport right back to the position you stand on now. 2 grayed out boxes show up in my vision. Forfeit. Move on to main event. I assume that one will turn active once I enter this dome, and the other once I reach this 1,000 point threshold. In order to gain points, you must defeat other lords within the dome. Eliminating them will transfer all available points to the lord that finishes the elimination. I raise an eyebrow, quickly understanding the rules, meaning I must either eliminate 999 weak lords with their starting points in order to move on, or face off against other lords that have already done many eliminations to stack points faster. I feel a leg twitch on my side, as Ren shows the first signs of being alive in over 2 days, but when I mentally send them a message, still nothing comes back. I don't know how you're going to get any points like this. I whisper, while the demonic servant speaks again. If you're eliminated, you will be teleported back to the starting point and lose all of your points to the Lord that killed you in the dome. However, if you forfeit early, the points you've earned will be taken away from the pool within. I raise an eyebrow, as it also seems these new ether commands added give the safety of being teleported back here after simulating death within this dome. However, I don't trust it to work on my real body below this avatar shell at all. So, forfeiting for me is not an option. Do know you cannot forfeit mid-battle. It takes a full 3 seconds to activate the escape array. A sly expression comes over the demonic servant's face, and the visuals on the hologram zoom out again, showing the shimmering mirror-like dome in all its glory. Of course, this is just a brief overview of what's to come. There are many additional surprises and opportunities to gain points waiting for you participants inside. A little hint for those of you that are confident you will be doing more than running for your life. There may be more benefits in the main event for those that leave with more than the minimum points. This zoomed-out view shows even more black dots in the massive arena stands starting to arrive, but they are still over 95% empty. With that being said, Round 1 participants enter the dome. I look forward to seeing the strongest of you again at tonight's show, Chapter 820. I watch all of the lords in my direct line of sight walk and run forward into the dome without hesitating at all. The hologram of the grinning demonic servant fades away as well, leaving me in silence, staring at a shimmering mirror with an unconscious elf on my back. After a few seconds pass, a timer shows up in my mind above the 2 new available buttons on this avatar shell, and it is counting down from 1 hour. Well, we better get to it, I guess. I whisper, hoping Ren hears me soon, and walking forward, passing through the barrier. Instantly, I feel the sensation of an easily malleable wall turn into an indestructible prison behind me, as this dome is far stronger than the black zones I'm used to in the wilderness, though it's bright green behind me instead of black. The sky above is the same color, as the entire inside of the dome is green. My feet crunch on the hard ground below me, that appears to be covered in smooth pebbles and stones, like the bottom of a dried riverbed. Small shrubbery grows out of it as I look around, with red bushes and green and blue trees with stubby branches, not growing much higher than 4 or 5 meters tall at most. There isn't much elevation change either. When I look around, it's like we're on a flat land for hundreds of kilometers. Though my senses are still heightened from boosting my perception on the White Ring, so I do see a thick jungle-like biome about 300 kilometers away. With it, I watch dozens of lords to my left and right all running forward into this simulated battlefield. Some toward each other and some running off on their own. I even see pillars of white light in the distance, with small notifications popping up in my mind pointing to them with arrows on a tiny minimap. Duel? Nearest 961 kilometers. Shop? Nearest 1,120 kilometers. Gift? Nearest 1,600 kilometers. Challenge? Nearest 1,784 kilometers. They all have one of these messages as a descriptor with all kinds of point rewards, avatar upgrades, or even rare soul weapons available. Though, the more complex descriptions are all blank, as it seems I need to be within range to gain access to this information. The minimap is loading up my environment just like it did in the wilderness too. I run forward, pushing mana and ether into my footsteps in order to move faster. Many of the other second and first class lords I see zipping through this dry biome have full access to their ether commands and systems again, and give off impressive auras. Many have already made it into the jungle. I feel shockwaves of energy rippling through the air, and massive flashes of light in the sky, watching a white-feathered bird and a fiery lizard creature clash with wind and fire above the jungle's treeline far away. They both have some kind of greater energy form activated, and it really sets the tone for what I'm getting myself into. Dozens of other blue, green, white, yellow, and purple collisions explode in every part of my vision. Throughout this dry zone and within the jungle, destroying kilometers of trees and blasting holes in these smooth rocks. Hundreds of the strongest monsters and lords in the green zone of the upper realm have begun to fight, and it is quite eye-opening as I continue running forward, watching total chaos break loose. And to think this is the warm-up round that no one bothered to show up to and watch. I murmur while leaving a trail of white ether and mana behind me. My body feels quite hot, and there's a light buzzing tone like high-pitched bees in my inner ear, as the noble vibrations have built up far more, placing pressure on my first seal far greater than 2.5 days ago when I first noticed them. Straining myself to get scans of the Citadel certainly sped things up, but despite this, there is an even more strange sensation taking place on my back. I didn't feel it before, and I think it's because of the fact that our avatar restraints have finally been lifted, but large amounts of the ambient mana and stray ether coming off the commands around us are being siphoned into Ren. Even the residue coming off my body is getting drained into this elf's avatar. A few minutes pass, and many of the battles in the sky come to an end, but many more start again. These next rounds of fights are even more intense, as the weaker lords all lost, and now the winners are facing others, showing even higher levels of their strength. I make it within range of the treeline, separating this dry stone biome from the jungle with kilometer-high trees. But the air becomes thick and hot just as I'm about to charge my footsteps with ether and start to fly. 5th-class humans? Ha! 2 free points for the taking. A loud and deep voice bellows out from beneath the ground. The rocks start to shake, and a bulge bends upward to reveal a bright bronze horn. A massive rhinoceros head bursts from below, and a muscular humanoid body with 4 arms comes out, staring us down from a distance. It looks like this beast is made of rocks, and the 2 white crowns of a 2nd-class lord and bright. For above its head tells me it's already been through a few battles in the few short minutes we've been in here. My gaze tracks left and right, spotting multiple deep holes in the ground just like this one, making it known this creature has ambushed other parties in the same manner. I wave a hand, motioning for it to move. I don't want to fight. I just want to check out those pillars in the distance. A laugh comes back from the beast, and an aura grows around him, humming with dense mana, divine threads, and a premium avatar's ether commands, making the rocks around him turn into liquid using an earth summoning skill. Spears are created in all 4 of its hands as it yells again. "Oh, you have no choice in the matter," then throws one of its massive ether-imbued earth spears my way. I sidestep with a burst of mana under my feet, far more explosive than what I had to use beneath the Citadel in that cell, as this creature really did just try to kill me. The rock around him continues to flow and cover his body, creating armor and growing him in size to over 50 meters tall, like some kind of greater form is being activated. I roll my eyes. I guess I can't hide forever. By the strength of the vibrations hitting the inner walls of my body, I'm going to have to let them out before the day's over. This so-called new noble of the Vermilion family is going to be revealed in the main event tonight, and that is when everyone will be watching. So, there's no point in trying to stay within the limitations of this 5th-class human avatar shell. At this point, I've achieved my goal here and welcome the suspicion of the demons. I smirk, letting a hint of my true mana control leak out, then raise a hand in the air, filling it with dense fiery soul energy, not bothering to create the facade of the tens of thousands of basic ether command simulations it would take for a 5th-class human to create such an attack. Then, let it fly forward at the beast that angrily throws 3 more spears my way after missing its first. The flimsy pillars of stone are incinerated on the spot, and a massive gaping hole is left in the chest of this monstrosity's greater form. My fireball isn't even affected, but I wave my hand to let the ball of flames explode before it gets too high in the sky. Even so, the burst of dark red flames and white ether lights up the sky behind us and takes out almost a full kilometer of jungle. The rhinoceros lord's eyes are wide open in fear as it falls forward on its face, murmuring, "I'm possible," then fading away in a gentle white wisp of commands. Kill confirmed. Points awarded. 4. Total points. 5. The green number above my head counts up quickly to match the notification in my inner ear, and I calmly walk forward through the white mist and leftover mana from this beast's aura. Many other strong first-class lords nearby make mental notes of this explosion, as it was no ordinary blast and certainly an enemy to keep their eyes on. The mist filled with leftover energy turns into a slowly spinning whirlpool, coming my way instead of dispersing outward, though I'm not the one draining it. Ren's body glows white as it's entirely absorbed by their small figure, and I feel a small hand tighten around my shoulder for a moment once the air is clear. I raise an eyebrow and send a mental message, but there is no response still. Another voice from the admin on the outer ring of the Citadel rings in my inner ear instead. Good luck in this first round. I believe a quick victory won't be a problem. I nod, stepping up into the air, and starting to float above the portion of jungle I destroyed with fire. Then, a visual is transmitted into my mind. It shows this entire dome from an aerial view. There are hundreds of large biomes like the one I'm hovering over, and flashes of light and clashing aura all around it. Beside this huge aerial view, I see the empty stadium still filling up extremely slowly, and a small moving text box beside it. There are faces, entry numbers, and total points next to random lords, and it's moving fast in real time. Some of the lords on this leaderboard already have hundreds of points, though only the top 100 are shown on this live list. I take in as much info as I can before the visuals shift, and the live view of a massive Berserker Giant's greater form battling an enormous purple and black spider's greater form in the sky is shown, both of them on the top 100 leaderboard. The demonic servant that welcomed us into this event begins giving blow-by-blow commentary on this fight and slows down portions of it to rerun. The admin I share a link of loyalty with speaks in my mind again. There may not be many people watching now, but already a few million lords are in these stands. Not to mention every admin has viewing privileges outside the inner city. If you stay out of entertaining fights, you can move on without being seen. But if you wait too long, you'll be shown to the citizens here and cause a spectacle. It's not every day a human is entered into the arena. I grin and kick off the air to fly further into the jungle toward a few large explosions in the sky. Thank you for the heads up, and please do keep this live spectate feed active for me. It will be a great help. I hope you enjoy the show.